Hey, we have a caller in too, the Lap Zero podcast. By the way, caller number 1-800-LAP-0.
I have his cell phone, so I can text him and be like, "Hey, where the fuck are you?"
Why would anyone ever give you their cell phone?
I know. I'm glad I didn't do that.
You know, Antonio Lyons is Norwich.
He's a...
Without the worst
Intro on.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Lap 26. We're here for another fantabulous episode. By the way, 26, that's like half a year or something, right? That means we're doing something right. We're still here, so that's cool.
Swerve. And what was, which one we going with, 26 driver? Was it,
It was Brett Bodine.
Brett Bodine. I want to throw out a shout out to Johnny Benson, though. I mean, like I said, he's a dude that could double as a NASCAR driver and a history teacher if you looked at him in a mugshot. So
nice.
Thanks,
in
Mr.
a mugshot.
Benson.
That's cool.
Dr. Benson.
Brett Bodine had a crisp 147 races in the 26, and so did Jamie McMurray had 144. So you know what? We could pick either of the two. It don't really matter.
Jamie Mack.
Jamie Mack it is.
Jamie Mack it is.
Where's Dave with his Jeff Gordon theme, but with another driver? I don't know. Anyways,
Yep.
Who cares? Anyways, we are joined this week by our usual Levi Norman. Dave is unfortunately traveling in a big, gigantic metal box right now, so aka RV. So we're not going to be seeing him this episode, but we did replace him indefinitely. No, I'm just kidding. Temporarily. We do have a guest this week. Good old Russell Soto.
Hello.
Hi, Russell. How are you?
Good to see you all again.
I know. Been a long time, Russell. Been a long time.
That's true. I guess it's again for us, but like for other people, they don't really know. So anyways, Russell's a good buddy of ours. He runs in League Zero. You might have seen if you watch any of the broadcasts there, stuff like that. But we've known him, I don't know. How long we know each other? Like a couple years now, probably? Something like that?
Now, yeah. I think it was 2020 or so, 2019 maybe.
Yeah, there you go. So a few years now. It's already 2023, so that's cool. So maybe we'll talk to our good old boy Russell for a bit, then we'll run into our usual podcast stuff. I think Russell's probably going to stick around, but just like what happened with James and Josh. So get some insight from him, see what's going on, and then proceed into our normal NASCAR, F1, and IndyCar. So cool.
Yes,
so I don't know, Russell, run us through who you are, bro. Let these guys know who the hell you are, dude. Like, what the hell are you doing here? What's so cool about you? Huh? Let us know.
Yeah.
I see you got a Ferrari flag in the background, so you already got some brownie points from me. Norman's got his shitty ass Shelby flag up there, so hopefully he burns that at some point. But anyways,
those brownie points are probably the only points Ferrari's going to get this season at this rate.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
it's okay. We're doing
Unless
better
it's
than Haas,
endurance
so that's all that
racing.
matters.
is there something, but yeah, I'm Russell Soto. I'm someone who grew up in New Jersey, born in New York City. Started karting from the age of 8 years old. My dad was always a Formula One fan, always into Grand Prix racing growing up. And when I first went to the go-kart track, not gonna lie, at 8 years old, I was kind of like, is this really for me? Because growing up, my dad would always watch F1 racing on Sundays, and I'd be like, well, this is really loud, and it's like an hour long. And at the time when I wasn't watching it, I was like, well, this is kind of boring. I just want to get on the PlayStation. And my dad's hogging the TV, so I'm like, okay. But finally I got into a go-kart and I was like, man, this is awesome. I drove for the first time. I fell in love with the sport. And from there on, I just started joining indoor karting leagues. I started competing. I won my first championship like the following year that I just started doing go-karts. And it was at that moment that I actually met a guy named Stephen McAleer, who currently races IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. So meeting him was something that really changed my racing career, because he was the person who introduced me into proper outdoor competitive karting, which at the time meant junior Rotax, junior tag. And eventually I started racing regionally, doing things at the club race level, moving on up to the national level for one of my races, the US Open of New Jersey. And so, yeah, Stephen McAleer was always a great mentor to me. I owe a lot of my success, a lot of what I've been able to do so far to him. He's the one that introduced me to proper professional racing. And it's not only me that he helped out. I mean, he's also helped Josh Green, I believe, someone who's also competed in League Zero. A couple other names like Robert McGinnis, the guy who's also racing in IMSA with Stephen at the moment. And so he's been a really, really important guy in my life. Also just a great guy overall. But yeah, after karting, I wanted to make the move into race cars. I mean, the entire goal when I was a kid was like, man, I want to be a Formula One driver, or I want to get into Indy cars, something like that, do open wheel. And so naturally, the first thing I did was I started going to racing school. I picked up the Lucas Oil School of Racing, which is now the official Road to Indy racing school, just to get my full competition SCCA license. I also did a little bit of Skip Barber. Shout out to Ken Fukuda, who's an awesome coach, awesome mentor as well. I did a little bit of Bertle Ruse, and this is all just to get myself some more seat time and some open wheel stuff, but also like hone my skills down. Eventually college came in, like I became college age, you know, because naturally we all age, we all get old, right? And there came a crossroads where it was like, okay, I'm a guy with a limited budget. I did not have all the money in the world. Otherwise, I probably would have been racing cars at the time. But I was like, okay, I'm either going to go into college or I'm going to just completely devote myself towards racing. And I'm not going to lie, of course, family was a big part of it. They definitely told me that, like, yeah, you know, education is definitely really important for us, especially being like a first generation person in the US. So I decided to go that route, but I still kept it related to racing by going for engineering. So I got my engineering degree from Rutgers University, go Scarlet Knights, but I also joined Formula SAE at the time, and I involved myself with learning all about motorsport engineering, which honestly has educated myself as a race car driver. I feel that what I've learned from engineering has played a part in how I communicate with engineers on a race weekend, or how I help change my setups when I'm even in the simulator, for example. But it also goes the other way around. My racing has influenced my engineering, because now I know what I want out of a car, how the car should behave. I know the driver's perspective of things. So I continued on with that, got my job in automotive engineering, made the move to Michigan, where I'm now a vehicle dynamics performance engineer for Stellantis. So I use what I learned as a race car driver to help give feedback in car development. Right now I'm working on the Dodge Charger, the new EV that's going to be coming out. So nice. I'm always on the test track, changing different kinds of setups, doing different kinds of suspension tuning, tires, wheels, just creating better packages for a better handling sports car. But still never I'm still never letting go of racing though. I still compete in Spec Miata every now and then when I can around the tracks here. Waterford Hills is a great track where I've actually just done some coaching as well. I love doing race coaching. It allows me to meet a lot of new people and actually hone my own skills too. But yeah, I'm around a lot of new tracks. Mid-Ohio, Grattan, and Gingerman are all new to me. But it's been an awesome opportunity to learn new things and track my new car that I got this year, which is a Toyota GR86. So I've had an awesome time doing autocross with that as well, learning about autocross because I had never done it before. And yeah, that's what brings me here. I love doing League Zero. Shout out to League Zero, Team Goon Squad in the stream, James East, that's my boy. You guys put on an awesome show. If you need an F3 league to join on iRacing, that is the one. But yeah,
loving the free racing. Promo, just saying.
Yeah, thanks for the free promo.
Of course.
So obviously you've introed yourself one or two times before. Hey, so that's cool. You got rolling right into that. But maybe just for those of us who are uneducated, maybe just let everybody know who's listening what Formula SAE is, and maybe Stellantis as well, because I didn't know what it was before. I mean, you had to tell me what Stellantis was. So, I mean, maybe just let everybody else know in case they have no clue what that means.
Absolutely. I mean, Formula SAE is a competition where engineering students who are typically in university or graduate school come together and design, engineer, fabricate a race car from the ground up, essentially. The competition allows for a certain kind of rule book where we all have to follow specific rules and regulations the same way Formula One has to every season. About specific dimensions of the car, what the powertrain can or can't have, for example. But even though there's rules, you still want to maximize those rules. You still want to get the most out of your car. And that's where the engineering challenge comes in. So I was a part of a team, Rutgers Formula Racing, that competed in Formula SAE. And I was really happy that my last year was actually the first year we were doing an EV, because that changed everything, the handling dynamics of the car, where the weight was going. how exactly we're going to tune all the different components that we can make it perform better. But yeah, Formula SAE is a great opportunity for engineering students. If you're someone who wants to work in Formula One day, I can't recommend it enough. It's honestly awesome. You meet a lot of cool people there too.
Yeah, I just looked this thing up in a quick Google search. Anybody out there needs to go check it out because these cars are radical looking, dude.
Yeah, man. They're like baby Formula cars, really aggressive aero, especially the rear wings.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Love to see that on a stock car one day. But
heck yeah.
But yeah, it's a great thing. Stellantis is the company I work for right now. They're the guys that own Alfa Romeo, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Opel, a lot of different brands in Europe as well as North America. Right now, they are competing in Formula One under the Alfa Romeo F1 team. Really, it is Sauber Engineering, though, but under name, they technically are Stellantis. So that's something that the company loves to flaunt, especially when I'm on their company website. They're like, oh, yeah, Zhou Guan Yu was doing this day. And I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Always cool being a part of like a big corporation in that sense. Levi, you know what it's like. Me and you know what it's like working for a dealer to, you got John Deere. I'm a dealer. We're working a dealer for Cat. So Caterpillar, some of the biggest companies. So it's pretty cool being part of something bigger than yourself. So
yeah, well, our big deal with John Deere is we just, I guess they have like every year they have the John Deere Classic, which is like a big golf tournament. And that's like you said, you go on the website and that's all you could see was for, the month leading up to it was just like, golf this, this guy's doing an interview, check what this guy's doing. We're putting this big, I think they had a, little skid steer looking deal with like a putter on the end of it or something with a huge golf ball. I don't know what the heck was going on, but anyways, yeah, it's crazy.
Our big deal is we're just better than John Deere, so that's really what it comes at.
Okay.
Gotta get it on the podcast.
Anyways,
next.
I know. Yeah, dude, we gotta find someone from one of these companies, get him over here. But
yep.
Anyways, I guess you kind of covered a lot of the questions I was already gonna ask you, so that's kind of cool. I know you've been doing the Lucas Oil Pro Shootout. You've done it, in the past too. Maybe just, I guess, talk to us a little bit about some of the other stuff you ventured into in racing. I know you covered karting. You covered a little bit about the shootout, but maybe just tell everybody what you did and stuff. I thought it was pretty cool. We saw the, the social media promotion and everything that goes into it. So, maybe just explain to people the Lucas Oil Pro Shootout, what you took part in there. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. I would say the main two shootouts that I've competed in were the Lucas Oil Shootout as well as the PT Autosport Shootout. So the main reason why I compete in shootouts in the first place is I guess I can consider myself as a broke race car driver. I have all the passion, all the willingness to do the work. Right now, I even have a trainer who's helping me, maintain a fitness level so I can get into any car right now and just be ready when the time comes, if the time comes. But I don't have the money. The money has always been the biggest thing that's stopped me from pursuing a racing career. And I still pursue it. I still do everything I can to network, get myself out there, but it's my biggest hurdle. So shootouts are essentially opportunities that allow me to overcome that hurdle in like a really fast track kind of way. Because basically if you win these shootouts, you get money to race. Automatically, you're going to have the opportunity to race the following season in something. Typically, that's how it goes. So with Lucas Oil, that was an opportunity where I believe I was competing with 20 other drivers at Sebring International Raceway in Florida. And there was more of an evaluation. They were deciding, okay, how fit is this guy based on this exercise routine that we'll have them do, or this reaction time training that we're going to have them do. How are their lap times? They had open lapping sessions, of course, but they also had interviews as well to see how we interview. How is our presence on social media? They evaluate those things. And then all the judges come together and make a decision about who the top four are going to be, typically with different variances and prizes. But the top winner would always have the full season for free, basically. And if you win a season in Lucas Oil, then you essentially get to compete, or at least have a scholarship to compete in USF 2000 and continue that road to Indy ladder. So yeah, I competed in that before. Unfortunately, didn't win. It was early days in my career in cars. I had only made the jump from karting, and I was already in a field with other people who had driven race cars before, who had much more karting time as well. I do say that I've competed in karting, but not nearly as much as a lot of these national karting drivers have done. I've only done one national karting race. But I still wanted to make that jump to cars, and I never gave up. So I continued pushing, doing all these racing schools when I could afford them, doing race events when I could afford them. And the second shootout that I did just this year, actually, was the PT Autosport shootout. So that was a shootout that allowed me to basically, if I won, get a scholarship to race in something like Spec Boxster, like an entry-level racing series where I could basically hone my skills. It was more of a development kind of shootout that you could have any range of skill or experience to enter. You didn't even have to have driven a race car before. So they were considering all skill levels, but of course, if you had more experience, they would take that into consideration as well. So I did apply for that. Last year, it was my second time applying for it too this year, because last year I did it. And to be fair, I don't think I performed at my best. I don't think in the second round I did much social media content. I don't think I really answered the questions very well, because that second round, that's all it is. It's not about driving at all. And so I was like, okay, that's fair. I didn't get picked last year. But I did get the honorable mention, which meant that I got a free test day and a Spec Boxer this year, which was awesome. I had a great time in New Jersey Motorsports Park. I milked it for content for sure. But yeah, this year I gave it a lot of effort. You know, I really put in the work towards trying to get into that finals, especially with the social media content. I was like up late at night doing tons of hours of editing, making sure that the presence was there and marketing myself and stuff. Still didn't get chosen, but such is racing. I mean, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. I like to think about what Daniel Ricciardo said in his last interview. Not everyone has the hero's journey, you know, and not everyone has that journey that's so grand, it's all easy for them. And whether or not you want to do something is all about if you're willing to push when it's hard. I mean, it's so easy to smile when everything's going right, but if you keep pushing when things aren't going your way, then that's how you know you really want this. So I haven't stopped. I'm still doing stuff. I'm still getting myself involved. And I think that's the most important thing.
So no, that's cool. It's pretty sweet what you got going on there. I know I was following a lot of the social media promotion and stuff, so it was cool to see. Definitely milk that stuff. Anytime you get a test, bro, milk it, whatever. I mean, you got to get some sort of media presence in order to do anything nowadays. So, I mean, hey, fake it till you make it is a true statement, man. Everybody does it. So, and it's not, if somebody's dissing you for it, then oh well. You just flex on them when you get it. So, it's all that matters.
I noticed that I'm assuming you're really would like to get into open wheel racing. I think that's your background and what you love the most. But have you started looking at trying to get into like IMSA or anything?
So I'm really glad you brought that up. I do remember that I mentioned really wanting to get into open wheel when I was a kid. My goals have changed since, especially now that I'm a little bit older. And also, I had more experience in GT cars more now, especially with Spec Miata. I've enjoyed the close racing. I like having the fenders. But also, I think it's much more accessible. It's a much more realistic goal for my current stature right now, you know, because I'm 22 years old. It's not old. I don't want to say it's old, especially for guys, you know, who are older than 22. You guys are not old. But for Formula One, it's grandpa, at least for getting in, right? You know, I mean, you have guys like Fernando Alonso, and they're like, okay, yeah, you know, I'm still old, but I'm kicking. But no, for me, the goal is definitely IMSA GT racing. World Endurance Championship would be ideal for me. If I can compete in the 24 Hours of Le Mans and win, that would be life set for me. That's my goal. That's what keeps me going, man. Like just that vision of me being on the top step of the podium there. So.
As long as you mention Lap Zero podcast on the podium.
Thank all your sponsors and don't forget us. You know,
yeah, we got about $50 to offer, but
yeah, I got all 50s for you though. All 50.
Yeah, we got $50 from each of us. It's Canadian. It's Canadian for me, so it's actually like $42.50, but it's okay. It still counts for something. But anyways, yeah. I find it funny that you're working for Alfa Romeo now, and you like just sold your Alfa Romeo, and you bought what did you buy again? Oh my gosh, I can't even remember now.
The Toyota. No, actually, I didn't sell it. Well, I technically sold. I sold it to my dad for $1.
Oh, okay.
Like
so
I just gave it to him, basically. Yeah, it's still in my family. It's in New Jersey, so No, the car I have here is a Toyota GR86, and it's like a perfect track day car. But it's not the best daily. But I'm a single guy. I don't have kids yet or anything, so it works. It's a
Hear that, ladies? Single dude.
Yeah. There you go.
Got a nice little GR86.
Yeah, man.
I'm assuming manual.
Yes, it's the only way to go. Only way to go.
Man, it's probably hard to find one of those nowadays,
I waited like almost half a year. Yeah, man.
Let's go. Yeah, I was gonna say. I guess the wait times on those were ridiculous.
They're making a comeback.
Yeah, for sure. They're actually easier to get now than they were like last year. Last year they were impossible. Now I get calls all the time. Oh yeah, we have a red one. We have a blue one. I'm like, oh wow, wish this was like this last year.
So Dave had a ton of questions for you. So his first one was, who was your most influential person in your racing career, which you did answer. He asked, how has mechanical engineering made you a better driver? I feel like you partially answered that. I mean, is there more you want to add on that?
I think just having that engineering mindset is what really helped as well. Engineers, I feel like Norman can relate to this as well. Very analytical mindset. You're always thinking about how can I improve something, or how can I be creative to make something better, right? That's part of what being an engineer is. And when you're a race driver, it's the same thing that applies. How can I drive this corner better? Where can I improve my lap time? You want to be thinking about it in terms of that. And especially when it comes to mixed conditions like the rain, how can I drive this corner better? Becomes a real thing, because now not everyone's following the same racing line. You got to adapt. And if lap by lap you're thinking that way and you're always adapting, then you're going to be a great racing driver. I mean, the track is evolving, even in the dry as well. And I know we all feel that, especially when we're in the car in F3 with League Zero. Lap by lap, the car feels different too. And if you change your driving style, then you're naturally going to be one of the quicker guys. So that's how it's helped, for sure.
I'm glad you reminded me that Norman's an engineer, because I'm not going to lie, sometimes I forget. but anyways, he said, so he was curious how being a racing driver in the New York area is. He's like, is there a lot of opportunity? Do you see yourself moving to a place like Florida? Do you see yourself moving to the racing? I know you actually briefly just talked to me about moving overseas to even pursue racing. So yeah, what do you think in that regard?
That's an excellent question. And it's actually perfect. I wish he was here to ask it as well. But yeah, it's definitely a lot better than it was before. In New York, especially New York City, there's just so much stuff going on. And motorsport, I feel, in the past decade has improved significantly in terms of awareness, especially with things like Formula One and road racing. I think oval racing has generally always been popular in the States, but road racing has definitely gotten a lot better, especially in the New York area. We have a lot more karting tracks now. The karting tracks are a lot more popular now. I remember when I first went to my local go-kart track, which is Oakland Valley Race Park, shout out to them. It was kind of empty. Not a lot of people knew about it. And now I see so many videos and onboards on YouTube about people going there and how it's like one of the best karting tracks to go to in the Northeast. So it's definitely improved a lot since. I don't think it has everything that you need, though. If you're someone like me who has limited budget, can't just say, okay, I'm going to fly out to other states right now and race. If you have to stay in one state and race, it's not the state for that, I don't think. It definitely has a better racing presence than it has had before, though. But I'm not sure it's enough. I mean, I've moved to Michigan now, and Michigan actually has a bunch of racetracks that are surprisingly very close. The first and only racetrack that I heard about before I moved was Michigan International Speedway, which is an oval track, not even a road racing track. So I was moving here, and I was like, oh, man, there's nothing here for me. There's no road racing. But then as I got involved with the SCCA, and learn about things like the Detroit Grand Prix, I learned that there are actually 5 tracks around me, or 4 tracks that are within an hour from me. And I was like, wow, okay, the racing scene is a lot more here. So I've enjoyed that a lot, because even when I'm not racing, I'm still volunteering, or I'm still just there to network, right? But yeah, Antonio mentioned moving overseas. I've considered it, and especially now that I work for Stellantis, which is a global company, I'm hoping that maybe somehow I could talk to my boss and say, well, hey, I love to work for the Italian branch, which is the main headquarters of Stellantis, and get myself overseas, because racing is actually a lot more, at least my style of racing, road racing, it's a lot more available there, a lot cheaper from what I've heard as well, more attainable. I mean, here you see more baseball fields. There it's all go-kart tracks or race car tracks. And so I strongly considered it, because if I even want to get into motorsport engineering, there's more opportunities for that. And to race as well, there's more opportunities. It just sucks if you're an F1 fan there, I guess, with the Ferrari deals, but can't win them all.
Yeah, no, for sure. I guess on the topic of social media, we were talking about it briefly earlier. Dave had a question that he was curious if social media, do you find it influences or hinders your ability to get opportunities as a young driver? And he's curious, has it become harder to show real talent with, the presence of social media being so important nowadays?
Oh, man. What a good question. Yes.
It is a good question. I'm not going to lie. That was a good question.
That was really good.
You get an F1 driver thinking hard about that one. I'm not going to lie. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, for sure, dude. That's wow. Okay, I like questions like that because it makes you think, No, yeah. I think it definitely makes an influence. If you have the content and you're someone who has a lot of money, typically people who have a lot of money are the ones, or at least companies that have a lot of money are the ones that create opportunities for a race car driver. Because at the end of the day, you can be the best driver in the world, but you're only going to be driving a UPS truck if you don't have the money to pay your way into a race car at some point, by any means. It doesn't even have to come from you. It could be coming from someone else, but if the money's not there, you're not going. So
we apologize to all delivery drivers out there listening.
Oh, yeah. No offense, UPS, or Amazon.
I know, man. I know, right?
What's funny? One big break.
They're about to strike anyway, so they're not going to be doing much driving. So
it's funny, statistically, they're probably the people who are most likely to listen to a podcast because they're driving all day anyway. So that's good. We just shit on them. So it's like...
He's not shit on
day drivers.
Yeah, he's just saying, I got your back, man. I feel your pain,
He's just saying you're like, instead of an F1 driver, you're like tier 3, so it's okay. You're like the next step down.
Yeah, but maybe the best driver in the world is an Amazon driver. I mean, especially on Prime Day, they're probably setting purple sectors.
Yeah, man. UPS, you kind of suck, man. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Oh, man. Got to go to 8 houses to deliver TVs and microwaves. But yeah, where was I going with this? Oh, yes. So, yeah, delivery drivers. They could be fast.
I totally threw you off.
Yeah, he did. So that's what we do. Gonna get off on tangents, but
no, yeah, I mean, you're only gonna be driving a delivery truck if you can't show or offer any value to someone or a company that has the money to put you in a race car. That's just what it comes down to at the end of the day. So I don't even consider it to be like social media is what creates opportunities. In reality, it's value, and social media is just one of those forms of value. If you can offer value in any other way as well, then in exchange, you could probably get the money to race. One of those other things that I've been doing is coaching. I felt that coaching so far has really helped in creating opportunities, because typically when you're coaching, it's just, some people who maybe are gentlemen drivers or well-off people who just want to go on a track day and have fun with their car, but then they've never done anything motorsport related, so they need some help. And then that's where I come in, because I have that track experience. I could help them out and say, hey, this is how you take the racing line. You should threshold brake here. You should go on throttle here. Keep your eyes at the apex and things like that. And they're like, oh, okay, so this guy knows how to drive. If I ever wanted to get into an endurance racing series, I know who's going to be my second or third driver in the stint. So things like that. If you can offer value in general, I think you're going in the right direction. And so, yeah, I've been trying to take that approach of like saying, okay, I'm going to increase my social media presence because that's going to make me seem like I know what I'm doing. I'm going to make sure that I'm coaching, bring myself on the track, because you never know who you're going to meet. And doing things like that. I definitely think it makes an impact. It's all about image. It's all about, if you have the look that you know what you're doing, more people are likely to say, okay, this guy probably knows what he's doing. If you're someone who is barely on social media, in this reality in 2023, it's tough to say that you're actually doing it. If you're not posting about it, are you doing it? And in reality, it's an interesting question, because you could definitely be doing it, even though you're not posting it. That's kind of what I was doing for the past couple of years until I started actually doing it. But a lot of people didn't even realize that I raced, or a lot of people didn't even realize that I was still doing stuff because I wasn't posting it. So I found that posting it has helped keep my name in the conversation, definitely with people, especially who aren't even into motorsport. They're like, oh yeah, Russell Soto, the guy that's a race car driver. Already I've had people in Michigan who I don't talk about racing at all with them. They're just like my friends outside of motorsport. And they were still like, oh, I bet Russell Soto was at the Detroit Grand Prix. And I was, because I was posting about it. So yeah, social media, definitely. And it's definitely a really important tool for anyone who wants to make a pro career out of racing or be an entrepreneur in any kind of facet. Now, how has it hindered talent in the industry? That's an interesting question as well. I think that ultimately, if you're good, you're good. If you have the talent, you have the talent, and the results will show. Whether or not you can get the results is a different question, because getting results means you have to be racing, and getting to race means you have to have the money to do it. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword like that. There are a lot of people who have a really strong social media presence but aren't the best drivers, and vice versa. But at the end of the day, I mean, especially at the top levels, everyone has a social media presence. So I think that it kind of balances out if everyone, because it makes it a level playing field if everyone has really good social media presence and managers who do those things for them. But in the lower levels, I think typically you'll find that the better drivers are the ones that have better social media presence anyway, because they're the ones that are putting in the effort. They're the ones that are working hard. Usually that's a sign of like, okay, if this guy's editing videos at night and doing that stuff, he's really dedicated. He probably also works really hard in all the other areas too. He's probably also doing laps in the simulator at night. He's also probably studying tracks, studying his onboard videos. So in short, in the high levels, no. In the lower levels, yes, but in a good way. Like if you have strong social media presence, you're probably working really hard, or you have the money to pay someone to do it for you. So there's no real way of knowing.
Completely honest with you. Did Norman or Levi, do you have any other questions for him? I got a couple, but
man, I'm just happy he's here, bro.
It is familiar voice. It's been a long awaited too.
Levi didn't do his homework.
We talked about our list of guests when we started doing this podcast. I mean, we waited till we, sounded half decent before we started bringing anybody on. But you were definitely on the list for sure. So I'm happy that we finally ended up getting you out here. So that's cool. But yeah, no, I guess I got a couple questions. I guess one of the ones I had is obviously just from seeing your videos. I've noticed you've been editing content and putting out more maybe professional style videos. Like you've got, nice cuts, scenic scenery, like, there's a word I just can't find it in my small brain, but essentially I'm trying to say they're more cinematic. That was the word I was looking for. More cinematic is nicer. I'm wondering, do you do that yourself, or do you pay someone to do that? Have you just recently started doing that? I'm curious what you've been doing there.
Just recently started doing it. I just came to a realization. It was one of those cases of you're just sitting at home and you're like, wait a second, why am I not doing this? Yeah. I'm scrolling through Instagram. I see a lot of drivers and they have really cool content. I'm like, well, I've done some pretty cool stuff. I've driven a Formula 4 car. I've driven some pretty cool race cars, in my opinion, like a Ferrari. So I'm like, well, I could make something out of that. And I could probably get myself into more of those things if I let people know that I'm doing it in the first place. So that's kind of what got me into doing it. A lot of my videos are all done by me. Almost all the Instagram posts are edited by me. I use a free software because I don't feel like paying. But, also it's part of the broke race car driver thing, I guess. All my money's going to racing. So I don't pay for Movie Maker. I use a software called DaVinci Resolve. It's basically like completely free.
Oh, Resolve's awesome.
Resolve's great. I love it, man.
I use it.
Shout out to Resolve.
Shout out to Resolve, man. Resolve's
DaVinci. Woo.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. There's only been one post where I've had like one of my photographer friends help edit with that. But no, everything has been all me. Especially for the shootout, I really put in a lot of work for that. Just trying to get that right. But even with how it's been so far, I've still look back at my videos. I'm like, okay, there's things I could improve. So it's always still that mindset of like seeking improvement. I'm a very competitive person, so just naturally I want to continue developing that. But yeah, I still plan to make more content as well. Planning on starting up my Twitch hopefully soon and getting a YouTube channel going. Continuing with the Instagram posts.
F1 2023 two-player career mode. Just saying.
There's been talks.
We should bring it back. Bring it back.
Talks. We're in contract right now. Contract talks.
We're in the contract talks.
Yeah, me and Russell are deciding a number here to split the earnings.
It's still in the womb. It's still in the womb, but it will be born. It will be a bright and shining little baby.
He gets 5 cents. I get 4. That's just how it is.
Rumor has that.
The big question is, who are y'all? What team are you starting with? You can start at the bottom and work your way up.
I mean, technically, you could say we're going to start from the bottom because we're picking Ferrari. So we're probably not
Ferrari over here.
We're turning dreams to reality. We're not going anywhere. So
it's so funny to hear you say that because that's like the slogan I've been using on my videos, like turn the dream into a reality.
Yeah. Dude. Anyways, so we're turning the reality into our dreams. So anyways.
Oh boy.
Oh man. I guess I got 2 more in this and then I'm done, I promise. But have you thought about venturing off into TikTok? I know that's obviously we've seen TikTok in the last year or two absolutely explode, and lots of people, I'm sure people like Norman are gonna absolutely think it's the stupidest thing ever, which is fine, it's Norman. But anyways, Norman doesn't like a lot of things. But no, have you thought about using it at all? Like, I mean, I've seen people get huge on it, and even race car drivers have started using it, making cool videos on it. Just it's an easier way to reach people. It's just everyone's on it. Why not post something with the potential of it exploding and you getting free popularity, sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love the idea of like my content being out there, then you swipe up and it's someone's random dog. Like,
that's what I'm going for.
That's a cool idea, like a dog doing a dance after seeing me in a race car. Like, oh yeah. But no, TikTok is definitely a huge platform that I've thought about putting myself in. I already have a plan as well. Once I get enough like Instagram content I'll just put that into TikTok. Because it's a similar kind of format with Instagram Reels. So I would definitely take advantage of like the same file format, same video style to venture off into that platform too. So there's definitely plans of that as well. I'm glad you brought that up.
It's free publicity, man. I mean, technically.
Yeah, anything,
get your name out there, and you never know when somebody will be like, "Have you seen this Russell Soto guy?" Total Wolf's like, "I don't know, man. I don't know. Let me check that guy out."
I heard he likes Ferrari, so he probably isn't going anywhere. But I'm just kidding. Yeah. I guess my last question is pretty. I guess jumping back into like reality, what we do every day or every Thursday, I should say. Have you thought about pursuing any of the sim racing stuff that comes out? I know, we've seen guys like William Byron get into NASCAR just because of his iRacing career. We've even seen guys, jump into, I cannot recall what the top series is called, but it's the Porsche Cup cars in iRacing, and they run them, and a few guys I know have gotten in there and gone over, or even super late models have jumped into a real one, and, the translation, it actually worked for them. So have you ever thought about participating in any of these things that, R Factor 2 or iRacing puts on and offers, potential rides and stuff? With sim racing being so readily available now, is it an option you've thought about pursuing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest hurdle I would say are all the esport guys that are like, yes, this is my thing. And they know all the secrets and the tricks of being fast in the virtual car. I know that there are a few things that are different between driving a race car and a sim racing car. Now, not to bash on sim racing, I love sim racing, man. I mean, I do it myself all the time. I have my sim rig right behind me even. But there are guys that definitely know all the nooks and crannies of that. Now, I have tried, and I will continue to try. I actually have this one event coming up called Prodigy Racing or Race Prodigy. That's basically if you win that event, where you kind of like have a tournament style bracket of drivers competing against each other. You get a test in a Radical SR1, I believe, or a Radical racing car, and from that test, you get an opportunity towards a professional contract in real life racing. So I'm continuing to pursue those opportunities. Of course, I understand that all these opportunities, including the shootouts as well, are kind of a short way of getting into it. It's kind of like the American Idol of race car driving, I guess you could say, where it's like, okay, you're just going to go straight into professional motorsport. there are levels, of course, of getting there too, with amateur racing. But yeah, I do plan to continue doing that because, well, it's free for me to do it, basically. It's available. I can do it. So why not? But at the same time, still grinding, of course. I'm not banking on shootouts and saying, okay, I'm going to put all my eggs in that basket. And then if I don't get it, that's it. Never giving up.
On a second part of that question, I've always talked about, from my experience in all this, which is very little to what you've done.
This is where he's going to recruit you for his amateur endurance team.
No. Can you discuss how it's like going from real life to the sim and from the sim to real life and how that translates? Because I've always told people, in my opinion, coming from real life into the sim does not translate like it does from the sim to real life.
So that's a great question. So sim racing, I feel, is the ultimate driver's tool. If you can't be in a race car, if you can't afford seat time, sim racing is like, I don't want to say free seat time, because if you have a really immersive simulator, you paid money for it. But a really immersive simulator is an excellent driver's tool because essentially it's seat time that you could just have at any moment. It could just be in your house and say, okay, I want to drive a race car. Boom, you're in. Now, depending on how well of a tool it is, depends on how much money you spend to make it immersive. Because you could just have a desk chair and a Logitech G37, which is like an entry-level sim racing wheel. Or you could have like direct drive motors, hydraulic brake pedals, and full-blown chassis with motion rigs. So I would say that the more immersive a sim is, the better a tool it is. Now, in general, I would say that there are a few differences if you want to be fast in sim racing versus if you want to be fast in real life. There's some things that translate very well. For example, the braking technique, I feel the throttle application, racing lines, racecraft is a huge one that I think transfers very well to real life. I found that every time I enter a real life car, I'd benefit from practicing on the sim first. Because it gets me into the mindset, the mental aspect as well of racing. Having the consistency as well is something that I've learned and actually picked up from racing, just hitting the mark every lap, being within a tenth of a second every lap. It's an important skill if you want to be a competitive driver, and sim racing can definitely help you out with that. However, from my experience, especially someone who doesn't have a motion rig, you're missing the G-forces. That's the main thing that you miss when you're not in a real-life race car and in a sim rig, because in a real-life race car, when you're braking, you can feel your head jolt forward. When you're cornering, you feel those lateral Gs. You feel the chassis roll and the chassis flex.
You feel the wall.
Yeah, you can feel the wall if you hit it, So it's definitely missing a few things in that regard. When I entered a Formula 4 car for the first time, it felt really similar to the sim, I would say, because it was a very stiff chassis and it didn't have much roll. Downforce car, it was about what you would expect. But when I entered a Mustang GT at Lime Rock for the first time in real life, after doing laps and laps in the simulator, it was a shock, because that car was a very heavy car that would roll going through the corners. And I wasn't used to that sensation of like, okay, I have to deal with this G-force while looking at the apex. I would just think, okay, from sim racing, I can just look at the apex, turn in. So there are a few things that unfortunately don't directly translate. But if you're using the sim to train for real life racing and you take that into account and say, okay, I know that in real life it's going to feel this way, and you prepare yourself for that, then it's the ultimate driver's tool. It's exactly what can help you get lap time in a racing track.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think sim to real life helps a lot. I think real life to sim, as much as you want to call it a sim, it's not to the full extent of real life, whether that's limited by game mechanics or whatever. But what I noticed is the biggest thing is racecraft does not translate from sim to real life. You're not going to be doing what you're doing in sim in real life. Speaking from experience on oval, I know a lot of guys in real life, in sim, are gonna, throw it in below you, and they'll have, their bumper in by like an inch. And, in sim, that's fine. They're like, oh, okay, I have the position. They're like, I got the right to the pass. Whereas in real life, that guy's coming down on you. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, figure stuff out like that. You go take a guy out by accident, he's going to come knock you out because you just, cost him $100,000 because you wrecked his super late model kind of thing. So there's lots of stuff like that, open wheel. We see crazy moves in sim. People diving it in, doing, the block passing's become a huge thing now. You see it in top levels like Formula 1, 2, and 3, but in sim, it's got really bad because, people just put you in a position where it's like, well, I'm going to throw it in so hard that either we're wrecking or you're getting out of the way and I'm making the pass. So I know a lot of people aren't going to do that in real life. You can. You see it in F1 and stuff, but it's different. They get everything paid for, right? So that's the difference. But, in real life, you're not going to see that. You're not going to throw it in with the potential chance of breaking your car unless you're going, for the win of some huge event or the championship or something crazy. You're not going to put yourself in a position where you're going to, potentially kill yourself making a stupid move sort of thing. So, anyways, I know I just bashed it for 5 minutes, but you get the point. I think there's a lot of things that directly translate over. Like you said, you touched on a lot of good points there, but there's definitely still some stuff that I think you take a guy who's been sim racing, you put him in the real world, and he tries a couple of things, and and he realizes, hey, that's not going to work here.
Yeah.
I just wrecked that guy. He's going to come beat my ass when we get to pit road. What I mean? Like, I got to be ready for that. So
he can't just yell over voice chat. He's actually going to yell in your face.
Yeah, exactly. There ain't no protesting him for, accidentally.
For sure.
Yelling over chat or something stupid. Like, he swore I'm protesting him.
Gregor Hutu comes to mind as someone who translated very well, surprisingly, from the sim to real life. There was a whole iRacing special years ago where they took him, and he's basically like an iRacing world champion in proper open wheels and iRacing, put him into the Skip Barber Racing School and even a pro Mazda, or like a Star Mazda, I think it was called at the time. And he was driving pretty well, so there's that. And then there's, of course, the main guy from the Gran Turismo movie, there's always that guy. So yeah, there's definitely examples out there that show that's a good translation, and it's only getting more and more popular, especially after the COVID lockdown season. So
100%. The spike was huge.
Yeah, that was a bomb for iRacing, just blew up.
Yeah, it was a mixed blessing for sure. I guess the other thing I was gonna say is I know what you're saying with the sim championship stuff and trying to win those championships. There's a lot of in real life racing, you're always looking for an advantage. Everybody bashes cheating when someone gets called out for cheating. That's literally the name of racing. That's how it works. You're gonna cheat. You're gonna bend the rules. You're gonna do as much as you can to try and get as much of an advantage as you can, because that's literally the whole name of the sport. In sim racing, there's still cheating. We've heard of grip hacks and stuff. There's ways to combat it with, session temps and stuff. But there's also stuff like tire dipping, something stupid that you can abuse the game mechanics. Like, as an example, at Silverstone, Ray was telling me this one thing he did in qualifying, where you could dip your left front tire in the grass at it's the fast corner, the really fast right-hander. There's a Cops, at Cops. And you could, by doing that, you wouldn't have to lift, and it would give you like another degree or two of rotation. And it was just like stuff like that. You're just like, I would have never figured that out, no matter how much practice I ran. So, and it gained him like a 10th, and you're just like, that's huge. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like stuff like that. It limits you, which sucks. So I definitely know your pain there in that sense.
Yeah, especially for me, right? Because I use it as a training tool for the real thing. So I want realism in my sim. Of course, I still compete in sim racing, and I love the competitive aspect of it. But the first and foremost reason why I got a sim was so I can get seat time for when it's time for me to get into a real car, I'm ready, or I can have a way of practicing for that. For sure.
Anywho, we should probably jump into our regular podcast here. We're probably about 50 minutes into the Russell spree, so that was cool. We're happy to have you on. I'm sure we can think of some more questions for potentially the future, or hey, if we have time at the end, we can talk more too. But
you gonna stick around there, Russell?
Yeah, you're gonna stick around.
I'll stick with you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm not bored of you guys yet. No, I'm kidding.
He said, "Yeah, I'll just leave. Whatever.
I'll just leave."
Eventually, I will be.
Yeah. So I guess let's jump into our normal NASCAR. unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot on it. I mean, it was overall a pretty solid race. We had the rain affect us for, the second week in a row, unfortunately. But instead of ending the race, they just moved it to Monday. So that was good, but crappy. I know a lot of people didn't end up getting to watch it because, it ran at noon on Eastern time on Monday. So
it's such a weird deal when they do that. I mean, I know they got to, and they got to do it on Monday or nothing. And luckily they were able to get it in, but it's always a weird feel.
Yeah, it's hard to by that point too. The logistics and the TV broadcasting that goes into it. The only probably available time slot for them to do it is like a noon time or something like that, right? So you kind of get shafted in the sense of it would have been great if it was Monday night, but they can't always do that with what's going on. And New Hampshire doesn't have lights either, does it?
No, not to my knowledge.
There's no option of running late, but Monday race. I mean, it was pretty good considering. I always think New Hampshire provides a good product on track. I mean, you honestly, no matter what they do to the cars, I feel like you can't ruin New Hampshire. Norman might attest to that. But
I got a question because I watched the extended highlights, but I noticed it looked like the first 3 lanes in the turns were repaved, but they didn't repave the upper lanes.
You know what? I actually didn't look at that. I'm going to go look at that right now and just see what the heck it looks like because I didn't notice that at all. Oh, yeah, the 3 bottom ones. Yeah, they might have repaved it. I know that helped because, I did notice they were running the bottom lanes more than they did before. And I think that helped because it used to be you were pretty much always running pretty high up there. It was always, a top feeder for the most part. But yeah, no, there was grip everywhere. It made it interesting. I mean, the bottom line's still not the preferred line. It's a flat track. It's never going to be the preferred line. But again, I thought there was lots of passing. We saw our boy MTJ do solid there. He swept stage 1, 2, and he won the race.
Dude's continuing to have a really, really phenomenal season.
He is. He picked up the pace, man. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what happened in the background, but I bet you there was possibilities of him losing his drive, and I really think that just lit a fire under his ass. Because I mean, I like Truex. I have nothing against this guy, but for the most part, he's always been a pretty average driver. He's better than he's good enough to be on that all-time greatest 75 list. I don't actually know if he got voted in, but he had 36 wins, so he's already probably better than 75 of the other drivers that are below that. So he's definitely a good driver, but he's always been pretty average. And if you look at him throughout the years, he's always been, decent, nothing crazy. I mean, he did have that. Did he end up taking the championship in 2018?
Exactly.
2017. That's what it was. I was like, is he 2017 or 18? I know, that's close. It's all good. That was 5 years ago. That was 6 years ago, but 18 was 5 years ago. That was a long time ago.
Yeah,
I was 12 or something, so it's all good.
It always seems like he's got a good sponsor too, which kind of goes back to what Russell was saying. I mean, the money makes the world go round. Seems like Tracker Boats and Bass Pro and all that group really, really enjoys him and sponsoring him and helping him out. So I'm sure that goes along with it. But like you said, that can only go so far. I mean, like you said, he had good years, especially. I mean, he's a champion. He won 8 races that year. So. But it only goes so far if you don't have backing. But I'm sure that's something. Something had to have happened because if I remember right, he won the Coliseum this year, right?
Yes.
The exhibition race, and I think that's when a guy named Levi on a podcast said that I think he's going to have a pretty good season this year.
Hey, you know what? I actually, when I was going back and I was getting the bin it in it and win it picks, I did hear you say that, and I was like, he's fucking right. I'm just saying.
It don't happen that much, but when it does.
Hey,
I'm going to tell you about it.
Embrace it while you can. But, 3 wins. He's having a solid season. And, hey, I mean, New Hampshire is the closest track to Phoenix. You know what they say? Whoever wins New Hampshire, they might be good at Phoenix. That's something to keep in mind if he can make it to the championship 4. I would be happy to see him win another championship. Maybe keeps him in the sport a little while longer. I mean, there was thoughts he was going to leave for a while there, so.
He's looking good now. I mean, he's top of the points, right?
He is. He is the new championship leader, which, by the way, the top 3 of them are JGR. Just saying. Joe Gibbs Racing is killing it right now.
Wow. You are... Well, you got to go pretty far down there to find a Ford, don't you?
Yeah, how's Blaney doing now? He was leading.
He's the top forward. He's the top forward. I mean,
he is, but he's like 7th right now.
He's
so
7th,
sad.
and he's almost 100 points out of the lead. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's.
I gotta say, going back to Truex, past 6 years, he has placed 1st, 3 seconds, 7th, and then last year was his worst year at 17th. So he's not actually doing that bad in the past 6 years.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, he's definitely stepped it up in the last, like you said, 6 years, something like that. I mean, that's kind of when we started like really seeing Martin Truex Jr. was, right around 2016, 17 was when he got super good. So
yeah, but
it'd be cool to see him again pop off. I mean,
it's like you were saying though, something happened this year. A switch has been flipped somewhere with that man. I know he broke up with this chick. Maybe she was holding him down. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's right. Was that last year?
Yeah, something like that. But which is crazy because they were together forever. I mean, as long as I can remember seeing him, I remember seeing her. But anyways, you know what? This isn't a love podcast. I mean, so
yeah, we already have the safety podcast.
Yeah, we already got the safety podcast. I'm not trying to get into like love lives in NASCAR. Yeah, I mean, as far as NASCAR goes, I think that, like you said, yet again, it's a decent weekend. It was a decent race. I mean, there was a couple of, I don't know, there's a couple of things. The only thing I can think of is I saw a post which didn't show up much on, if you just tuned in for the old highlights and that kind of thing. I don't think they showed it much, but Prerace and McDowell got into it. Of course, NASCAR loves the little rivalries because they do have fenders and they can use them. I just thought it was kind of funny because McDowell came up behind him, kind of putting that little half like arm around his shoulder, like, "Hey, bud, I'm just going to tell you something." McDowell was like, "Who's this behind me?" And once he figured out it was McDowell, he like pushed him off, like, "No, dude, you're not going to apologize. We're not going down this road, dude. Like, not today." And he was like, No, let me talk to you. And you couldn't hear it because it was a zoomed in version, but you could imagine what the conversation was. And I just thought it was funny because Prerace was like having zero of it. He was just like, "No, you know what you did? You drove way too hard in the corner. You slid up. You took me out. It's all good, bro." But anyways, as far as that stuff goes, I think that was probably as much as it goes in the what I like about it, the fist fighting and the things that are thrown at each other after the race.
I mean, speaking about Prerace, man, he's been having a rough year too. He's 26th in points right now. He's not doing too good, but he's a good driver. Like, we know he's good, so something's going on there.
You know what? To our listeners who actually listen to what I say, I did good on Truex. I didn't do good on Prerace, okay? So I told you he was probably the next big thing, and maybe not this year. Maybe not this year.
There's always next year. It's okay.
There's always next year.
Hey, but you know what, man? I probably sound like a broken record, but I'm just saying every race this year has been good. Atlanta was, I know I wasn't here for that podcast. Atlanta was solid. I mean, I know the rain changed it because we didn't know when it was coming, but hey, I will be the first to admit that I thought Atlanta was the stupidest thing ever when they told me they were making a super speedway.
Yeah.
That was good, bro. That could replace Daytona as the finale before the playoffs.
Whoa.
No, before the playoffs. No, I could see it. What do you mean? No, it's also a gimmick. It's a gimmick for a gimmick. Who cares at this point? Come on now. It's all the same.
Now,
I
think
still
about
the 400 needs to go back to on the 4th.
Oh, here we go. He's one of those guys, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's Norman. You know what I mean? Don't even like take the dust off it. Just leave it sitting there. Don't move it.
To be honest with you though, like, what race could you put before the Final Four cutoff that like would be entertaining? Like, from an entertaining standpoint, I totally understand. But from an actual regular competitive standpoint, like what else could you put there that would provide a good race? You could do a short track. It's just going to be a caution fest. Like, what's the difference?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? What, are you going to throw boring? Are you going to throw a boring intermediate or a mile and a half? Like, I don't know.
Please don't.
I think a super speedway makes sense. It is what it is.
Yeah,
you can
like
be upset about it. I don't really care.
The only two things that me and Norman had to say against that was that Atlanta shouldn't be a super speedway because it's not technically a super speedway because it has to be like 2 or more miles or whatever. But they just changed the name from super speedway to like super fast raceway or something. I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, no, you got a good point there. I mean, it is a fun track and it's new, it's crisp. Why not move it to right before the playoffs to get everybody kind of back in excitement and whatnot?
All right, so I guess let's roll into some IndyCar now. I know our IndyCar guru, Norman, you probably got lots to talk about this week. We actually had a pretty eventful race from what I saw. I watched it this week, so hopefully you're proud of me. I mean, just the highlights, but I will say I did see like lap 40 to 50 live, so that has to count for something, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's better than Levi probably. He didn't watch shit. Let's be real here. Yeah, exactly.
So, like normal, this is going to be a section of me talking to myself.
This is Norman's segment.
Because no one watches IndyCar, so no one really knows what happens. So when I try to discuss something, no one knows what's going on. But IndyCar, we'll start off with the sections that none of them know about. That qualifying went crazy because how IndyCar qualifying goes, most people already know, but you have your round 1 and round 2, and then you get into the Fast 12 and the Fast 6. Well, at the end of the first round, the rain came, and actually, Flo was the last to finish qualifying, but the rain had started, so on dries, he had no grip. So the drivers who finished first had the grip still right before the rain got there with a rubbered-in track. You know how it goes, fastest laps. So Pelot, actually, our championship leader and 3 in a row winning, starts 15th for this race. And it's a street course in Toronto.
Oh, Canada.
Hey, Canada's great. Shut up. Just don't speed in Canada, though.
The rain delayed some of qualifying, or the next round, and they got it back going. People started on wets, went through the first few rounds, or round 2 was wet. Then they got to the 12. It was still wet. And then Pato Ward, I think, started the Fast 6 on dries and came out and actually showed that he was running lap times with guys on wets. So everyone came back into pits and grabbed dry tires, which was a disadvantage to him because his dries had more laps on them at the end of qualifying. You didn't have time to change them. So I think it's only like a 6-minute or 10-minute round. Christian Lindgaard was the final driver to cross the line. Rubbered in dry track on fresh flicks. Got Christian Lundgaard, the pole. So very crazy qualifying. We get into the race and we have a street course. So we have a wreck on lap 1.
Turn 1, right?
No. I don't know what turn it is. I don't know the track that well.
So they made it through a few. So that's better than usual.
But on this particular turn, if you go straight, you go through, and Antonio should know all this because it's a Canadian thing, this archway. But because it's like narrow, they don't make you turn around and come back out. They give you a bypass around the track.
Don't they have one like that at Long Beach too in real life? When
No.
you blow the... I thought they had something like a... Hold on, are we talking about that thing where you like cut the corner and you can go through and you go like behind the like a different way?
It's similar to that. So what it is, it's a runoff, but instead of being a tire barrier or something at the end, they actually kick you back out around the track. But it's very, very narrow. You can't fly through there at full speed by any means.
I thought Long Beach had something like that at that turn before the fountain section. Or not the fountain, the hairpin section there. No? Am
Maybe.
Oh.
You can't get around. It cuts off. You have to come back out onto the track. You have to turn around and come to the track.
Regardless.
Unless they just added it.
I'm probably wrong. Let's be real. Okay, anyways, go ahead. It's all good.
So he did take the turn, but they tried to go 3 wide through that turn, and I forget who was all involved, but I forget the IMSA driver that was driving this weekend.
Yeah, were you sure you watched the race?
But he ended up checking up and throwing it in reverse. He did rear end a car very lightly, kept the car running, got in reverse, reverse back around the track because the track's blocked at this time, and takes the bypass to pass everyone and stay on the lead lap.
Oh, I did see that. Actually, that was pretty smart. I did see that. That was cool.
And I got to give him, that's knowing the situation where you are on track and using it to your advantage.
Yeah, I think it was Tom Bloomquist was the guy you were thinking of.
Yes.
So it looks like it was Ryan Hunter-Reay, Tom Bloomquist, Ferrucci, Benjamin Peterson, and then Graham Rahal. He backed it up, though. So.
Yeah. Unfortunate for Tom being his first ever IndyCar race, but he did show pace in qualifying, and I think we might see him actually come out of IMSA next year and join an IndyCar team, which will be really cool.
Heck yeah.
But we'll jump more towards the end of the race. So we had a couple cautions there towards the end. And this is happening right at you can hit your fuel number. You can pit under caution and you can make it. The crazy thing is, and this is actually shocking, Scott McLaughlin and Scott Dixon, both New Zealanders, both named Scott, stay out. And they already were in the top 5. I think it was a bad strategy call.
Yeah, I mean, there's being too safe, but at the same time, you're in the top 5, top 10. Why not just come in with everybody? Like, what are you really gaining there?
You knew everyone was going to pit. They didn't. They still did a great recovery drive. I think Scott Dixon finished 6th or 5th. I actually pull up the results right here. Actually, Scott Dixon finished 4th, and Scott McLaughlin got back to 6th. After having to do a green flag pit stop to finish the race, to take fuel and tires.
See, that frustrates me more. That shows that their cars had speed. Yes. You know, like, it just seems like it was a waste. But
now there were
all the way back up there.
There were a lot of cars having to do fuel save there at the end. But it's tough, definitely being in Scott Dixon. He's second in points, and his teammate Alex Palou has run away with the championship. You know, it's kind of a tough one. But I guess the craziest thing that happened in that whole race was Palou had a great recovery run. Cautions did help him, but he didn't need them. He was there for a great drive and finishing second. Amazingly, to show how good this driver is, I'm hoping they put this in the highlights that y'all saw. He actually on the last caution, to dodge it, took wing damage on rear-ending a car. And I think he might have touched the wall. His wing was literally being held on by the vinyl wrapping when he crossed the finish line to finish this race.
Which at a street course, front downforce is king.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
no, I get you.
The only car he could not defend was the race-winning Christian Lundgaard. Everyone else he held off. He held off Colton Herta. He held off Will Power, who had fresher tires than him. And an amazing drive. Coming from 15th to 2nd and have your wing pretty much falling off your car. It was a fantastic race overall. So, but since no one else really watched it, I guess my discussion points are useless.
No, that's a good run from Palou. It's unfortunate he couldn't, actually pull off the win, but for 15th to 1st at a road course, that's saying something. It is not easy to pass, especially a competitive league like Indy. I mean, these cars are pretty good. I mean, all the way through the field, especially top 20. So
he also had a really good. They asked him in the interview after qualifying. I think y'all can get into a discussion here. They asked him, did the rain affect you in qualifying? And he actually, I thought, a very humble driver, and I think Russell, you can get on in on this. He actually said, no, I didn't do what I had to do when I had to do it, and that's the reason why I didn't make it to the next round.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially when you're battling for a championship, it's a season-long game. Every round counts. I mean, even though it might feel like, oh yeah, I have a couple rounds left towards the end of the season, if you're not pushing the entire way through, that round where you were slacking or where you were just not performing is going to really show in the final title fight. So every round counts. And I think Alex, particular this season, been having a really strong seasonal consistency. I mean, he's won a couple of races this year. So he has that game down. He understands the importance of every race and maximizing it. And that's going to mean something for his title fight.
How hard is it as a driver to not blame the rain, but blame yourself when you have that out?
Oh, so easily, and I think a lot of drivers, a lot of people who spectate racing as well, kind of overlook the mental aspect of it, I think. But it's just very easy when you're, especially in the professional level, having a lot of people who are working for you. You have a groups and teams of engineers, tons of sponsors putting money down for this, and it all comes down to you. And that's a huge responsibility to carry. So it's very easy to blame for yourself when all the results go down. But you have to remember at the end of the day that not everything is in your control. And that part of being a driver is being able to adapt to when things aren't going your way and still maintain the mindset of, okay, I'm going to make the most of this. Because at the end of the day, you got to work with the cards that you're dealt. And a lot of these drivers are able to do that, especially Alex this season. I think he's been putting on a great show. So.
Great answer, by the way. I like that a lot.
Thank you. Yeah.
Amazing. I know.
I guess to really wrap up IndyCar, like I mentioned, Christian Lindgaard, racing for Ray Hall Letterman Racing, got his first IndyCar win this weekend. So congrats goes out to him. But I think that wraps up IndyCar at Toronto. I felt it was a very good race and would like to encourage the rest of the podcast to start watching some more IndyCar so we can have more discussions on it.
Don't you worry about that.
Yeah, I guess Russell's one.
Definitely watch more IndyCar, guys. I mean, I missed this last race, but I was actually at the Grand Prix of Detroit, and that was an interesting ride. It's a great race. It's a great sport, very accessible to fans. If you ever are able to go to one of the races, they let anyone into the paddock. I don't know if maybe it was just a Detroit thing, but there were like people who had never heard of racing, and they were like with the teams in the tents, like talking to them. And I was like, wow, that's something you'll never see in F1,
Heck yeah, that's nuts. That's crazy.
That's what it's all about, man. And the drivers there, I got the opportunity to meet like Marcus Ericsson and Will Power and one of my favorite drivers, James Hinchcliffe, that weekend. And nice guys, very approachable. Exactly what you would imagine they would be in real life. So yeah, for anyone who's interested in IndyCar, check it out. Definitely give it a try. Can't recommend it enough.
Yeah. Next race is what, Saturday? 22nd, yes. Saturday?
We have the duels in Ohio, so we'll run Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, okay.
We have 2 races this weekend.
250s, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Nice. Double weekend. Is that something normal for every season they do that?
Yes. They run a dual weekend past 5 years, I want to say, of what I've known. I think when I really got into it, but yeah.
Nice.
We're back to the oval. We only have this is the last oval of the year too. Maybe no. We have Gateway left.
This just in, our IndyCar guru does not, in fact, know where we're going. He said to Google the schedule.
No, I knew we were going to Iowa this weekend because, yeah,
going to Iowa. Pretty sure that's a home of like a lot of corn.
I was trying to remember if we had another oval left, and we do. We have to still go to Gateway August 27th.
I like Gateway. How does Gateway run? I mean, I know this is the stupidest thing ever because I should know IndyCar, but I don't. But did the IndyCars run good at Gateway? I mean, it seems to be a good track at NASCAR. I mean, nice flat tracks are always cool. So.
It's almost like Texas. Once you get long green flag runs, it's really hard to pass because it's really sketchy to get off line because of the rubber buildup.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah,
But-
and he's always struggled with that on ovals, haven't they? That
Yeah.
sucks.
But it's fast, so it's it's still entertaining. And you get the cautions can help open the racing back up.
For any of the guys who only watch road racing like myself, would you guys like to talk about the difference in oval racing between like heavier NASCARs and open wheels and single seaters? Like, how does it translate between the different cars with oval racing? Different strategy, or
I'm trying to think of like a few people that have done it over the years. Back in the day, it was like your AJ Foyts. Did Jeff Gordon actually race in an Indy car? Or no?
We were just talking about this during that Indy 500 preview.
I think he tested. I think he tested, but he's also tested an F1 car, which is hilarious. And there's a kind of a goofy story. He tried to bring his own helmet, and it was trying to pull his head off, pretty much. So he had to borrow somebody else's helmet in the pits so that his head wouldn't pop off. Because the air pressure was trying to pull his helmet up because it was just built different. Anyways,
Stewart's run
useless knowledge and no knowledge actually to be used on a daily basis. But so
Tony Stewart ran both.
Tony Stewart, he was the first one I remember doing both of them. Yeah, in Charlotte. Danica Patrick, Juan Pablo did Juan Pablo, right?
Yes.
He's actually raced F1, NASCAR, and Indy, among other things. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of them. Jimmy Johnson, right? Travis Pastrana, right? And was he in Indy? Did he try Indy?
Travis has not done Indy.
Is he going to do Indy? I thought there was like a talk around him doing Indy. It might have been just him and NASCAR doing Daytona stuff. But there's been a bunch. I mean, shoot. All I can talk to is by the sim, and it's completely different. And the biggest thing, and I know that y'all can be like, that's not the biggest thing. The biggest thing for me was like trying to race Indy, having to take care of your tires so much more than NASCAR at an oval. Like, that's not really a thing in an oval at NASCAR. You can go all race long, not change your tires all that much. And Antonio's not agreeing with me right there. He can go 20 laps at Daytona and has to come change his tires.
I need that. Are you sure about that?
Yeah. I'm saying on the sim. I don't really ever remember having to change half of
Daytona. But,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And like, I'm talking about like the big ovals. So, but I haven't really raced anything else Indy, except for like the Indy cars, except for Indianapolis track. So that's all I can attest to. But it seems like it's way different.
I think it's one of those things where it's just like any series in any car has its own like meta of racing it. So like IndyCar, for example, it's significantly different with how much draft plays an effect. Like down the straightaway, they're driving towards the inside of the track. Like in NASCAR, if you did that, people are going to be like, what the fuck you doing, bro? Like the line's up here. So like there's just stuff like that. Dirty air, as big as it is in NASCAR with the cars now, it's huge in an Indy car. I mean, you see it at, we've experienced it firsthand in the Indy 500s on iRacing. Like, it's terrible. Yeah. So it's definitely, each series has, its own challenges, but they're definitely totally different. Like, pit strategies and everything seem to be different. Passing is harder because you can't touch the guy in an Indy car, whereas, NASCAR, you could slide through the corner tandem drifting and, still make it sometimes, depending on how good the skill is there. But yeah, no, they're both cool in their own regards though. Like I think from me predominantly being a NASCAR fan, like, you can totally respect IndyCar drivers on an oval and how much of a challenge it is. And I think a lot of IndyCar fans can respect NASCAR drivers. I mean, I hope they do. A lot of people don't, but I hope they do because it's definitely, hard, maybe just as hard. So.
Well, that's awesome to hear, especially with you mentioning the aero as well. I think that was something that I want to bring up is that even me, someone who doesn't necessarily follow NASCAR too closely, I've noticed the significant changes in aerodynamics over the years. With the current generation of what's being raced in NASCAR, you have a lot more aero than I think there used to be. I was wondering if that maybe closed the gap a little bit more towards the driving technique. Compared to single-seaters that, of course, are very aero-dependent in terms of driving technique. I mean, I'm not someone who follows NASCAR necessarily. Shout out to my boy Steven Malozzi, though, who does race NASCAR. But But yeah, interested to know your thoughts.
I will say from a perspective of downforce, NASCAR's obviously significantly jumped into the downforce market over the last, couple generations of cars. We saw from the Gen 4s, which is, your stereotypical late model body, your Gen 4 Monte Carlo. Everybody knows those cars because that's what they ran. Late 90s, early 2000s. Hell, even to the late 2000s. Didn't they run that car till like 07 or something? Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody outside of NASCAR needs to know, that's what most of the cars when you see Jeff Gordon, like, the Rainbow Warrior car. It was the one that he won so much in, and yeah, that's kind of the one you see.
Yeah, look up Gen 4 car, you'll know what I mean. But yeah, no, after the Gen 4 era, and the safety improvements with, Gen 6 and 7, and sorry, we're on 7 now, right? Fuck, I can't remember. Anyways.
Gen 6, man, now
7.
you got me
we're
tripping.
On 7. We're on 7, 100%. Anyways, they definitely jumped into the downforce market now, huge. They even squared out the car. The car, I don't know if you know, but the right side of the car actually used to be on an angle to create side force. So when they went to road courses, there was actually an aero imbalance in that regard. They probably did stuff to combat it. I'm just talking out of my ass here, but they've definitely stepped it up. Let's put it that way. I was actually talking about this last podcast. I think they're going towards more of, they're still going to keep it ovals. Like, we're still NASCAR. We're still drinking beers on a Sunday running around an oval. But they're definitely pertaining more towards like sports cars or like V8 supercars. Hell, you saw it. Shane Van Gisbergen came in and won the Chicago Street Course. And, when we compare the two cars, they're actually relatively similar. Like, he probably had the most experience on a road course in that kind of car there. So, him winning was no surprise.
And them getting it close to a sports car. I mean, they ran Le Mans, and was very competitive.
Ran Le Mans. Exactly. Like, what does that tell you? So they're definitely trying to branch out, I think, into a wider scope of what they want to race. I mean, you see them venturing into street courses. You see them running a lot more road courses now. I mean, we used to run Watkins Glen and Sonoma only. What do we got now? Like 7 or 8 road courses. We got, Circuit of the Americas. We got the Indy road course. We have Watkins Glen still. We have Sonoma still. We ran Road America.
Chicago.
What? Oh, Chicago. Yeah, the bulletproof windows came in use there, but
there you go.
But I do think I was telling the guys, I think they're going in the right direction. I mean, I don't want to see them step away from short track oval racing. It's what the whole United States is born and bred on for racing. Like, where do you go Saturday night? Your local short track. You really go watch at a road course. Not to shit on road courses, we love them, but it's definitely improved. Let's put it that way from where we were 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, because if I remember right, the Gen 4 car, and Norman, you might be able to attest to this, and Antonio might remember, but they had like 3 different iterations. You had like your super speedway car, you had like a regular just oval car, and then you actually had a road course car. And I remember looking at the road course car looked like a normal car, if I remember right, but like your just regular 1.5 mile oval 1 mile tracks was like the nose was super, super slanted. And like, anyways, the only reason I knew this is because they actually brought 2 of them down to Texas. Like, you had your road course car for somebody, and then like a little ways away was like another branded roped off car. And I was like, what the heck is the difference? And then I got to like looking at them, and they had like where they raced them. And you could tell that one of them was a road course car, and the other one was like a regular 1.5 mile car. So they actually built different cars, not just different setups, because I think the era was so crap. You know what I mean? It wasn't a good product back then that they had to build different cars to do different things. But now, we're, like you said, we're in with the aero and shoot, I know I keep up with Chevys more than anything, but what they did with the street car, the ZL1 Camaro, with all the air tunnels and the aerodynamic stuff that they did inside that car to make it do what it does on a street or on a weekend track. Sure, I think that goes into helping NASCAR and stuff. So, yeah.
On that, I don't know if you remember this, Levi, but like back in the early 2000s, you would actually see the NASCAR actually skewed at super speedways.
Crabbing down the backstretch and stuff.
Yeah, where the rear end was actually crabbed in, or crabbed to the left. So when they drove down, they would actually drive the freaking left side of the car.
I really hated it.
So when it ducked into the turns, it would actually the car would actually even out.
They did that with the Gen 6s too. I remember that. That was huge.
Yeah, and it was bad. Trucks, it seemed like it was more prominent in the old trucks because I think it's because they had a bed back there. You know, it wasn't the slope for like the back glass and all that stuff, but it was actually like just a truck they kicked out there. But
it helped them carry speed through the turns. They didn't have as much aero drag in the turns. So
well,
in the draft.
They used to be such boxes. I remember I've told this before on. I just thought it was hilarious. But Michael Waltrip one time, this will tell you how redneck this NASCAR thing is, Russell. So it was Michael Waltrip. It was probably like maybe 8 years ago. But his they figured out that if you did it in, just pushed in a little bit in front of the front fender on the outside, it actually gave a little bit of kick. It help you get around the corner. But they wouldn't let you do it with the template. So they really taught their jackman how to accidentally kind of give it a little when he went around there and like kick in the side of the car literally to help out with aerodynamics. Like that's how redneck is. Like when you go around there that first time, you just give it that knee right there on the side there behind the door. That's right.
Wasn't there time periods too where they were doing crazy stuff like hitting the wall to like bend stuff to make it give you an advantage? It was crazy. There's so much stuff. Who else did it? Was it Hendrick? What they put the back window in, and it was like this plastic that once you got running at super speedway speeds, it would actually bow in, and it would drag more air onto the back spoiler.
I remember
there's crazy. There's so much cool stuff.
It. I think I found it and posted to you guys, but Chad Canals was leaned in on Jimmy Johnson's car right before the race, and he said, if you win it, you have to smash up the rear end. You have to hit the rear end on the back of it, like when you're doing burnouts. And he's like, what? He's like, you have to destroy the back end before you come back if you win the race.
Yeah, otherwise it's going to fail.
Really? And he goes, yeah. He goes, it's that bad? He goes, yeah, it's that bad. You have to destroy the back of the car before they see it. He goes, okay.
Wow.
I remember that. That was funny.
Yeah, it was an in-car. I think they knew the camera was there, but I don't think they knew it had audio. And I'll try to find it and post it up in our Discord.
I remember seeing that on YouTube
because it was good, dude. It's great because you can see Jimmy's face like in the helmet. He just looks at him and looks back, looks again, like,
"Is that you serious?
Is that bad?" But what I liked about it was at least if they were cheating, which everybody knows they were because they got caught numerous times. But and it's just racing. He didn't know about it. You know what I mean? He was just out there doing his thing, apparently. So, anyway,
you guys remember so you remember the back window? You remember how they caught it though? It was off of like the glare looked weird in the camera shot. So one of the teams like protest it?
Yes.
I remember that was so funny. I was like, damn, they really caught it off the glare on the back window. I'm like, that's crazy. Yeah. Hey, that guy's rear window looks weird. Go look at that shit.
No, NASCAR's the epitome. If you ain't cheating, you ain't racing. Well, it used to be if you ain't cheating, you ain't racing.
Yeah, you sure ain't trying to win
so much if you cheat now. Oh my gosh, they destroy you now. Too bad, but
that goes back to what we were talking about. You know, maybe that's why crew chiefs get tossed for numerous races because they finally got tired of it. But that's what made it fun, man. You knew they were doing it. You just had to get caught. You know.
I think the problem is the cheats now are so complex that they give you such a huge advantage. So I think they're trying to tell you to chill the fuck out, kind of thing. You know.
There's a lot of good YouTube videos on old 90s and early 2000s cheats, and they're freaking hilarious.
We need to pin that. Maybe that's another special we can do. Yes. Cheating in NASCAR and whatnot. Just pin that for another episode.
We should do some technical analysis of NASCAR, because I'll be honest with you, man, there's a lot of people who don't know how much actually goes into like NASCAR. They just see dudes running around in circles, but it's like, man, there's stuff that's so little that's huge, and like you would know as like an engineer, Russell. Like for example, I was telling the people at about my racing, because we're talking about camber and how camber's huge, and I was telling them that when you're driving a short, like a medium to shorter oval, I'm like, you don't actually want to drive dead straight down the straightaway because you're technically scrubbing because of the camber, like you're scrubbing speed off. You want to actually take the corner at like for I don't know how I can describe it to someone who's audio listening, but imagine you drive it like a D oval as opposed to a straight oval, even though the track is a regular oval. So you want to always be turning a little bit because you're, scrubbing speed if you don't. So it's just little things like that. Like if you told someone the amount of detail that goes into it, like they don't even know they don't even know 90% of it. Like I was telling them that, they were blown away. I was like, damn. I was like, I just told you one fact about oval racing. You think it's cool now? I'm like, that's goes to show you how ignorant they are to just not knowing. Like, you know what I mean? It's cool.
Yeah, man, it definitely is. I mean, it's really overlooked too, because you look at a Formula One car and there's so much detail that you can't deny that a lot of work and a lot of engineering went into that. But there's so much engineering in NASCAR, man, so much. I mean, these guys now, surely they're putting a lot of budget into aero and their setups and simulation work as well. I mean, even when I was applying for engineering jobs at the time, there were NASCAR teams hiring, and there were looking for engineers with, more motorsport experience than I had. Otherwise, I'd probably be working for them. But, they're out there, and it's definitely a huge thing. Just because they look like a normal car, I guess people don't really see it, but it's definitely there. Very scientific. And I think it was interesting that you guys are bringing up the whole cheating thing, because in a way, at what point does cheating also just become like engineering? Like you're getting creative with these things. I suppose they're not within the rules. But
that's when it starts to be cheating.
That's when it starts to be cheating, but very creative. And who would think like, we're going to play with the windows and stuff like that. It's just like, it's insane to me. It's really cool.
Yeah. And to your point, when you look at like F1, you can see it, but at the same time, it's like NASCAR, they can only go so much, because in F1, you can do the different little fins and carbon fiber pieces here and there that make air do different things. NASCAR is pretty much, I mean, it's a square car, there's a lot less
stock car.
Tweaking. Yeah, stock car. Yeah.
So no, on your note, Russell, a little fact that we can get into this in another episode too. But DRS actually was first in NASCAR by a cheat.
Wow. And you'll have to tune in later to our NASCAR special to learn the rest of that
Grant
story.
ran a car with DRS on it.
That's crazy, man. Well, there you go.
It was also first in NASCAR? Beer. Just saying. Anyways. Beer
Actually,
and tailgate
moonshine.
Parties.
Yeah,
and
moonshine. But anyways,
Right.
out from NASCAR, went kind of back there, and sorry about that, but that was fun. Jump into F1 for a little bit. The race coming up, the old Hungarian Grand Prix. You say Hungaroring?
Hungaroring.
Oh, well, it's because I'm from Buffalo. It's the
Hungaroring. Yeah.
Yeah, Budapest.
Interesting fact.
Budapest.
I've driven past that track.
Wow.
Oh, wow. You've been.
Yeah, he got lost on his way back home one time.
Took a few wrong turns.
Just a few.
Somehow ended up in Hungary. I don't know how.
Yep.
I wasn't driving.
He thought there was food there. He was pretty hungry. So.
Yeah, this old Grand Prix here has got a lot of good topics. I don't know if it'll be good racing. It usually produces some pretty good racing overall, especially with F1. But for this weekend specifically, there's those quality changes that tried to go on at a track before. Where was that? Somebody ought to remind me. It got rained out. What was the one that got rained out this year?
Imola.
Yeah. So they were going to do this where they were going to break down the qualifying compounds to qualifying ones. They are mandated to only run hards. Quali 2, then they'll move to the mediums. Quali 3 is the softs. I don't really know where they're at on the compound rating. I'm sure it's the C1, C2, and C3 like they've been doing. That seems to be the run they've been going with this year. I'm figuring they'll stay with that just because of the fact that this is kind of a new deal. As far as I can tell, they said it'll bring more strategy, of course, because it's going to break it down from 13 to 11 sets of tires for the full weekend. That'll be 3 hards, 4 mediums, and 4 softs. But I think that's that whole thing that we've been talking about. They're trying to figure out a way to save money. Tires are a big expense across the board for every team. So if they can bring that from 13 to 11, it's a start, I guess. I don't know. I'm sure there's some disposal of tires and how we're going to save the world. But as far as I know, I think it's kind of neat. I kind of like it. It levels out the playing field for the first couple of qualifying sessions, I think. But I think you should always have Q3 at softs or an option. I hope they don't change that, because that's when you really want to see the fastest speeds out of the fastest guys.
I think it's going to be, Q1's going to be interesting because I think a lot of people are going to overfuel the cars and run them long.
Oh, yeah. Maybe. That's not a bad idea to keep the tire.
It's going to be a really busy track for like 5 laps trying to find space.
Yeah, because there'll be little to no reason to run 2 laps and come in and switch. I mean, I get you.
And does that, sorry, Antonio, but does that delay, is it a lot of people going to wait till the end just to run?
I'm curious what is going to happen with the tire choice for starting now. Like, is it open after that? Do you know, Levi? They used to have to start on, what wasn't it, the Q2 tire?
Q2 tire, yeah.
Yeah,
they don't have to do that this year.
I don't think you've got to do that.
Really?
No, we've had some switch ups before, but at the same time, I don't think that'll be this time because they're kind of doing it to up the ante on your strategies, I guess you should say. But I'm just trying to think, like, maybe 2 softs. Like, the Q3 session it's only a couple minutes shorter. It doesn't seem like it should be that big a deal, but it seems like it's a rush deal, that last one. I don't know why. It just seems like everybody's in go mode. So, I mean, what do you run through? Maybe 2 softs, we'll say. Mediums, I could see them going through probably 3. That's still going to leave you with 1 medium and 2 softs if you did that run. And then you'll still have plenty of hards if the hard's been holding up like it has been before, man. That thing's been a tramp, like, as far as degradation goes. These tires have held out longer than a lot of the tires. I don't know if that has to do with the car being engineered to hold out on more tires, but the soft we saw, don't hold me to a number, but I think it was 22, 23 laps from Russell at Silverstone, I think, on the softs, if I remember right. So used to, that was a 15 to 20 max tire. He still looked decent too. It's just everybody else started to change tires. It was time to go. So I think he probably could have made a couple more laps, and he might have made more than that, but I can't really recall. So that's my fault. But yeah, qualifying, we'll see how it goes. I think the rest of the weekend is going to be the same. There won't be any super sprints or any of that stuff that's going on this weekend. So it'll just be a different qualifying session. So if you see everybody running around in hards, you'll know what's going on. Nobody wants to be fast. Everybody's going to be slow. So it's a protest. But besides that, a couple more things to touch on. Red Bull can actually move into the record books with 12 consecutive wins this weekend. The last time that was done was in '88. McLaren, they had 11, and so they were tied with them with the last race. Which to me is kind of hard to believe that Hamilton and Mercedes didn't win, 11 in a row in his domination, the times that he dominated over those few seasons, especially the last couple. I mean, I just think, I don't know why. I mean, I guess they had less consecutive races. You think you'd been able to pull something like that off, I would have thought. They were really on top of their game with that car.
I would have thought Mercedes. Hamilton and Rosberg would have done it.
Right? It's just...
Yeah, 2016, that was pretty crazy.
I think the difference in 2016, though, is that these two guys were on top of each other. I mean, the difference this season is, you have Checo definitely playing the number 2 game, which I think leads into another segue for another whole other conversation about Checo. We have all heard the drama that's happened with Nick DeVries.
That's a good point. How did we forget about that? I think that it is a classic case of Red Bull's very aggressive driver academy. However, it sucks for Nick. I don't really know. I mean, the AlphaTauri car does suck, but you know what? From bin it, in it, win it. We've been calling Sonoda to bin it all year. Has he even binned it yet? I don't think so. We've literally. I was looking at the first 10 rounds. We've had him almost every time, and he hasn't binned it. So I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things. Maybe Nick wasn't performing. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't performing, let's be real here. But at the same time, did he deserve to be replaced that quick into his first year? Probably not. I mean, they probably could have let him finish off the season, but they got Danny Rick, man. It's a PR stunt.
I was going to say, we will talk more about Danny Rick. It's my segment, and I'm going to take that to the end. But that's my boy, Danny, my boy, being back. But, well, we'll go real quick. We'll touch on McLaren. Everybody's kind of talking about them because of the podium, almost double podium. Let's say it, man. Piastri is fast. That car was super fast. I think, Norman and a couple other guys might have talked about it last time. Hamilton was even saving over the radio that it was a rocket ship, but that was a very track-specific car, unfortunately. I don't see them having the same luck. I don't think they'll be shooting for no podiums here at Budapest. But hopefully what they've brought to Silverstone they can build on. I've been trashing on McLaren, but my boy Danny's got a ride now, so I guess I can quit. I feel like they did him a little dirty. Here we're talking about DeVries, and we forget about Ricciardo not getting any upgrades. But, hey, that's conspiracy. I can't really speak to that. I don't know if that was true. I'm just saying I don't think they gave him any up.
I like Danny Rick. He's awesome. But I really think this is his last shot to prove himself. I mean, he only has a deal. He only has a deal to finish the year, doesn't he? He doesn't even have one next year, right?
No, he don't have one. Hamilton's up, of course. That is something that's swirling around, but it's been swirling around for weeks now. I didn't really wasn't going to touch on it, but you kind of said that, so it's kind of a little caveat. But there's a couple of guys that are coming up on contracts this year, next year. Danny Rick does not really have anything set up. It was a 1-year race, to be the reserve driver. They figured they were going to do a little more with him, but it was supposed to be a PR season. Personally, I think he looked better on the simulator than what they were. I think it's what they were hoping for, but didn't really think that they would see it. And then I think the icing on the cake is just 0 points from DeVries. He's just not showing that he's going to do anything better, and that he was the tire testing looked really good with Danny.
Definitely. And to add on to the point, I think about Daniel's, it's this season being really important for Daniel. One thing I like to add on what you said, Antonio, is that Daniel Ricciardo really has to show what he's made of this season, because Liam Lawson is going to enter the fray soon. He's finishing Super Formula this year, and he's actually leading the championship, I believe, where he's really competitive in that championship. So that's probably one of the main reasons why he's actually not taken up that seat at AlphaTauri. Otherwise, it might have been him. So if Daniel shows that he can't perform next race and for the rest of the season, that seat might very well be Liam Lawson's. However, on the flip side, if Daniel can prove that he's got what it takes, and if he even outqualifies Perez in an AlphaTauri or outperforms given his circumstances, that could be Daniel back to the top seat.
That could put Sonoda at risk too. You never know.
So we touched base on that last weekend a little bit. I think they're really wanting to lean on him. I don't know if it's some, yet again, we talk about money, right? I don't know if it's a sponsorship he's bringing. I don't know if it's his, his Japanese background or something, something going on there. But I think they're really leaning on him more than I thought they would. Like, it seems like DeVries was always a question, and Sonoda wasn't this year for some reason. It's like he almost got, I'm not going to say a free pass, but it didn't matter what he did. He was their guy. And then with Danny, it's almost a win-win. You got a guy who's going to come in and give you 110 because he knows his back's against the wall. At the same time, he can kind of tell Sonoda, because I don't know if y'all been watching Drive to Survive. I'm sure you have. I know they do. I'm sure, Russell, you've tuned in every episode. So I don't know if you noticed it, but it seemed like, man, Sonoda was just a little almost, I can't think of a better word, but a little immature for what you want to see in a Formula driver in that TV show. And of course, they can show you all the bad stuff and make it look bad. We know that. But maybe Danny can show him how to, hey, man, you can still be the fun guy, you know what I'm saying? But you can be serious and a businessman at the same time. So they can get a little bit of that from Danny there. Hopefully they'll get some production from Daniel. And if not, like you said, it's an awesome motivation for Perez that if he sees an AlphaTauri with the number 3 in his rear view, you better get this fucking going, you know what I mean? Because if they're, like you said, I think realistically, let's try to get some points before the end of the season. Unrealistically, and let's just shoot for the stars, he starts either qualifying better or outrunning Perez. And like you said, if it's Red Bull to AlphaTauri, that's a no-brainer for them to go ahead and swap that seat. Where Perez ends up, I don't know if they can put him to reserve driver, because they've always got Lawson in their back pocket. So I think it's a win-win for them on this move. Unfortunately for DeVries, I don't know where he lands either. I don't know if we don't see him again, because that has happened. We all know F1's cutthroat, dude.
IndyCar.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's an avenue for them now that really wasn't around before that much. So that's good. But I think he's, I don't want to say better than IndyCar. I think he's got a different driving style than what would suit IndyCar. But I've said that about a couple guys. Grosjean's doing pretty good over there, so he's doing all right.
Except this week.
Yeah, he's doing okay.
The wheel slipped out of my hand.
They're actually talking about him losing his seat now.
You know what? I don't even know what I'm talking about then. That's the one time I tried to talk about Indy, and y'all trash me. So forget me talking about Indy anymore. No. But yeah, they brought some upgrades, AlphaTauri, to help Danny out back at Silverstone. They didn't really pan out. They kind of threw it off in their interviews and whatnot to some heated tracks and front tires not gripping. And I'm like, yeah, but you made upgrades for that kind of stuff. If it didn't work, then it didn't work. So they're going to bring a few more upgrades. I don't know what they are. That was aero, is all they've been telling. They've been keeping it pretty close to the chest. So we will see. We will see what happens. I think it's a very exciting time. I'm going to have to buy a bunch of AlphaTauri stuff now because my guy Danny's back and I didn't really know where he's going to end up. So I've got at least a little over half a season to praise my guy and look behind Max when he goes by and look behind Hamilton to see if I can see a white and blue car doing good. And when they make the ticker go away and you're like, where's my guy? He was racing somebody. Anyways, back to the McLaren days of watching the guys in the back marker. But
so F1 TV's for?
Yes, sir. But I got a Max Verstappen fan as a wife, so
That's unfortunate.
yeah, we don't get to see him much anymore, unfortunately, because he's so far up there. So we're just watching other people race. But
not after Silverstone, he wasn't that far ahead.
He wasn't that far, but man, that's kind of bad. So that right there should show you how good Max is in that car specifically. This team literally built this whole car this year for that one race, and they still lasted like 3 or 4 seconds behind him. That was the closest anyone's ever been, I think, this season. It's nuts. I mean, just domination, man. Just you got to give it to him right now. Which you got to give it to him, which brings it to our in it, win it, and bid it. We do this every time there's an F1 race coming up. We don't do it every episode, but we're just kind of keeping a running tally for us, and we let our guests do it too if you want to. Play at home, let us know. Unfortunately, Max Verstappen is not in any of these picks because he's on a level just unreal right now, and it would just be the pick for win it every time for a guy. So your Bennett pick will be your first one. Who you think is going to wreck out? Your in it pick is who you think will be in the top 10 points. Like I said, not being Max, and then your win it pick yet again not being Max. Who you think is going to be the highest placing in it besides the man right now, Mister Number one, Mr.
Yeah, it used to be
reigning
non-Red
champ.
Bull car, but now
Yeah,
Perez
it used to be non-Red Bull.
He's a
You
finished
are-
second for a while now, so
Perez
he hasn't made out of
is-
Q1.
Yeah, Perez is back into the pool. You can pick him if you want to. We always let our guests go first, correct? Yes.
I don't think we ever had a guess for it, man.
Hey, yo! This might be a first. I think.
All right.
No, I think Josh Green was in it, but he.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I think he might have picked, but yeah. Anyways, yeah. So start it with your. Hell, you can do whatever you want. You're the guest.
Right on. Well, for Bennett, I'm gonna have to keep it close to home. My fellow countryman Logan Sargent. I kind of feel that the Williams is a bit of a difficult car to drive. I mean, Alex has been doing it great. I wish I could say the same for Logan right now. I mean, to be fair, he's a rookie. But yeah, I would have to give it to him. I don't think Yuki or Daniel would necessarily Bennett, given how competitive they're going to have to be for this race. It's going to be a very important race for them, especially for Daniel. So I think they're going to try to keep it off the wall. Now for Init, Esteban Ocon. I think he's been a very consistent driver. A little bit underrated in my opinion, but he's been driving very well, especially in that Alpine this year. For Witt, it's going to be hard not to say Checo. Given that he has the better car right now, but I'm not going to say Checo because these past couple of races, it's been tough, man. It's been tough to watch if you're a Checo fan. So I'm probably going to say Hamilton. I think the Mercedes, it's a competitive car all around. I think it's great what you were talking about, Levi, with the McLaren and how fast it was this past weekend at Silverstone. But like you said, it's a track-specific car, so I think the Mercedes all around is a faster car than the McLaren. So I'm gonna say Lewis for win it.
Good picks, bro. Good picks.
Very professionally done. Ours don't normally go that professional.
Yeah, no, ours are going to be a shit show. But who's up? Who's up this
In
week?
the regular rotation, we have good old Norman.
Hold on. Before we
Go.
start, let's do a leaderboard real quick. What are we looking at?
Oh yeah, let's do an update. So for the record, I'm lazy. We're all lazy, bro. Let's be real here. We never went ahead and we never went back and recorded the results for like the first 4 races, and then we were missing like round 9 or something. So, anyways, we are now officially up to date. So there was no picks for round 1. There was no picks for round 6 because that was Imola and it got canceled. It's still written in there, but there's no results from it. So after what's technically 10 rounds of picking, we have for the points totals, and none other than your boy is on top. But I'm sharing it with Levi. So we got a crisp 9 points each.
Oh, yeah.
On the next step of the podium, we have Norman. Go figure. We thought he'd be last, but he's actually second last. And then we got last on the podium step is Dave with 5 points.
Step it up, bro.
So, and Norman has 6. I don't know if I actually said the points total, but so they're having the battle of the shittest. Well, me and Levi up here are having the battle of the best. So we'll see how it goes. It could turn around. We still got lots of time, so I might eat my words later this season, but we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna be conservative with my picks, but Norman, nevertheless, you're up this week, so don't screw it up. Otherwise, Dave's gonna catch you. So
pick wisely.
Well, I'm going to start with my Bennett pick, and we're going to do a unique way to do this pick, because I don't know which driver to pick on this team. But I'm going to go against my fellow country's team. I'm going to pick a Haas driver. So we're going to flip this coin right here on camera. My boys can see. We're going to go
we're a podcast.
I know. Heads is going to be Hülkenberg, and tails is going to be Magnussen, and we're just going to see which one it's going to be.
For Bennett.
It's going to be Hülkenberg's going to Bennett this weekend.
Rough. I would have went with Magnussen, but whatever.
Yeah, but you never know which one. You don't know who's going to blow their engine in Haas. So
yeah, true story.
It's a flip of the coin.
Magnussen's lower in points, so technically you're gambling wrong. But we'll see how it goes. Anyways,
so we're going to go with Hülkenberg to DNF this week. I don't think he's going to actually wreck. I think his car's going to explode. My win it pick. I'm going to
take your in pick.
Do we want to do the in pick first?
Yes. Why would you pick in for last? That's the middle pick.
Well, fine. We'll do the in pick. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with a Mercedes. I'm gonna go with Russell this week. Share the love in the Mercedes camp.
Hope he wrecks.
When do you not want a Russell to wreck?
Yeah, no kidding. We got Russell slow toe. We got Russell.
Okay, until he's slow. Okay, until he's slow.
So I think Mercedes, they normally perform very well at this track. So I think
we got Norm Crash, Lee shit.
That one didn't even make sense. That last
one. But it's so true though.
I was making it like the LeBron memes. You know how they make like every time he does something, it's like, oh, he's Le Smart or some shit.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, Levi's Le shit. Anyways, I guess it's my turn.
I didn't even finish.
Oh shit! That's
You've
right.
been talking over me the whole damn time.
I don't want to listen to you, bro. Hurry up. I'm actually ready this time too.
So,
all right, say your win pick that you wanted to say second.
My win pick.
I'm going to keep cutting you off. It's kind of fun.
My win pick this week says he's back on the board, and Red Bull has always been also very strong at this track. I think Prerace can get a podium this week, and he finishes second behind Max this week. And yeah, I'm going to take him.
Calling Q1 elimination, but yeah,
yeah, that will be my luck because that's how it always goes. Just like last in Silverstone, I picked my in and win pick, had to switch spaces on the podium.
Yeah, you suck. Anyways. All right, well, now it's my turn, actually, this time. I'm going to pick better picks than Norman, just a heads up. So, for the bin pick this week, we're going to take a little gamble, sort of. I mean, he's, typically been at the back, and I don't think it's really his fault. I think it's just a car thing. But we're going to go with both has this week for a bin pick. I think you can never count out Lewis Hamilton. I think it's fair to just say he's always there. I think for points especially. Like, has he even had a finish outside of the top 10? Maybe at the very start of the season. I don't know. Car wasn't very great at the beginning. So, on to the win pick. It's probably the complete wrong option, but we're gonna send it anyways. Because maybe we'll give Levi a fighting chance against me. I just have to give him a head start. So, we're gonna pick Leclerc to win it. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, thanks for that one, bud. Appreciate the point.
He'll wreck this week. That's usually how it goes. By the way, for stat purposes, I picked Leclerc to bin it more times than I picked Sargent. I picked Leclerc to bin it 4 times and Sargent to pick it to bin 3 times. Just saying. Anyways, that's all I got. So Levi, I don't know. Oh, Dave's up actually. So we got Dave's
up.
picks. This just in from Nowhereville. We don't have Dave's picks.
We don't have Dave's picks.
Norman doesn't know how to text properly. He probably spelled it wrong or something. So,
anyways, so
hey, cut this shit.
Do we just want to give Russell's picks to Dave's spot possibly?
No,
I think we just
that means you failed to get your picks in.
Is that what we did to Antonio that time?
Yeah, we dropped him to last.
Yeah.
No, but I still did. Oh, I see what you mean.
No, then he cheated the next week, and
he went first anyway. So he really shouldn't be the champ. So go ahead and put an asterisk next to that score if you could, and go ahead and put me to the top spot.
I'm going to put an asterisk next to Dave's name because he went to go first.
Dave could text any minute now and take your pick.
Yeah, you're ruining it, so you better do your picks, buddy.
Yeah, I'm not ruining it. I'll still win. It's all good. So it looks like Bennett.
Just like John Deere's winning the battle. Anyways, sorry.
Yes, they are.
Really?
And so, I think it's probably bow toss on that one also. I've got a really strong feeling. I'll go with his teammate. We'll just switch it up. We'll go with Joe on that. I think that team needs help, man. Unfortunately, without Famari, no trash on Russell. You know what I mean? He worked for them. It's a car company. They're doing great, but they need some kickstart and get up to the front there.
Dude, they need someone like Russell to come carry them, like Williams had a Russell.
I know. Them. Russell is the answer. Like, that's it. Period.
Russell Soto 2024.
There you go.
Russell
Soto.
Russell.
I am the answer.
I mean, if you're gonna let him drive around a circle, the car's gonna blow up most of the time. Give him those laps. You know what I mean? Come on. Anyways, in it, I'm going to do it, man. Since you gave me one with Leclerc, I'm going to give you a point. Danny Rick, baby, I wanted to go get a point. That's all I'm asking. You can go get me a point, my friend. I've got faith in you. I don't know if anybody else does, but I got faith, all right? Win it. Man. You got to leave me more. So we can go against Russell's or no?
I
Russell's
got Russell.
picks.
Oh, yeah,
Russell doesn't count.
Yeah,
he's a gift.
Yeah. So you picked Russell, Norman?
Yes.
Okay.
He picked Perez to win it.
I picked Perez to win it.
Yeah,
I
what are
picked
you
Russell in it.
Man doesn't even know his own picks.
I'm picking Russell. I'm going to go with that one. Russell's looking good, man. Hamilton, he's always got that swag, and he always seems to do a little bit better. But Russell's been staying with it, and I think if the team will give him a chance, that's the problem. And I'm not trying to say that they're lopsided. They're probably one of the most even teams right now as far as letting their 2 drivers do their thing. Ferrari's not that way by any means right now, unfortunately for Sainz, and that's me personally thinking that.
I don't even understand how, because he's in front in the championship.
I know, but when there's a tire switch or who can come in and win. Last weekend they did give him one chance, though. They asked him what he wanted to do. He asked what was all around him, and he said, "Don't worry about it. Y'all make the call." So they actually were talking to him, but that's the first time this season I've seen them even let him have a chance, to do anything different. Anyways, long story short, too late. That's my picks. So we'll see, man. Big talking points, new quali session style, and my boy at AlphaTauri. We'll see how it goes, man. It's the start to a beautiful season for a Danny Rick fan, just to see him back out there. So I think everybody likes those smiling Australian, so it's pretty cool.
I do think Danny can get points this week.
This week? Nice, thanks, man. We appreciate it over here at the Danny camp.
For the sake of me winning, I think you won't get any. He'll finish 11th, though.
We'll start the chants. Honey Badger.
Anyways,
there you go. Yeah,
There you
it's
go.
all together.
Oh, dude, I want Russell to get in this, so I'm gonna pick him to bin every week.
Heck yeah. So the real quick, before we get up out of here, we had a Team Goon Squad Endurance, I think, right? You want to touch on that just real quick, Norman?
We heard it went well.
I'm sim racing, yeah.
It did start well, but it did end well. We were at Monza this week. for 3 hours. Unfortunately, I didn't have a teammate, so I Ironman the 3 hours. First 2 hours and sim is fine. The third hour gets a little taxing. If any of y'all have ever done 3 hours in a sim,
yeah, I think it was it a 3 or 4 hour at Daytona last year? Ran the Porsche. Me and Jared. Jared
3 hours.
Yeah, Jared ran it by himself. I ran it by myself. I'd seen him do it at Le Mans when me and you were racing on the other team, and he did it at Le Mans. And I thought, I'm not gonna be as fast because I'm just not as fast as him in this and that, but I could do this. About halfway through that race, he goes, dude, this is a really crappy one to do this because at Le Mans, you got the backstretch and everything, and you got to take a break. He goes, at Daytona, you don't have that many straightaways. I was like, I've noticed this. I'm already tired kind of halfway through that one. So, but yeah, no, it's a different ball game and something I want to do again, honestly. So
I've done a 20, we talked about the 2-man 24 and did a 4-hour stint during that at Le Mans. But this is a little bit different. It was a little bit more mentally taxing than I was expecting. Third step was anyway, I turned my fastest lap in it. It was hard. That was the hardest stint to be consistent. And I'm not talking about Russell's consistency within a tenth. I'm trying to be like turning laps within seconds of each other. Consistent.
So you just suck. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, yo.
No, I like endurance racing, but y'all can have it, bro. I ain't going. I'm not about to sit there for 4 hours. Y'all crazy. This is the way. I mean, it's cool. I'll watch you do it. I mean, I'll sit there with you and drink a beer or something. But man, you can have it. I'm just saying.
But yeah, unfortunately, like the last race I did, this is the second race of this season B. I had my teammate Tim and a buddy of his run the first race at Daytona because I was on vacation. But my last race at Le Mans, I started and did the exact same thing. Lap 2, gotta slow down my iRacing, and we know how we love iRacing slowdowns and how they calculate your time. By the time I realized I had not given enough time back, and it still was on my screen, it was too late to try to give time back. I do more blaming on myself. I was just trying to be too aggressive on giving the time back and not lose a position. I got a really good start and it jumped like 2 positions and was in a race. There was 2 cars behind me and like 4 cars in front of me. And I was competitive against those cars. I was trying to make passes and just cut the first chicane a little bit too much and got like a second slowdown. And I couldn't give it back before I got through Lesmo 2. And by that time, it was too late. So I ended up getting a 40-second stop and hold. Now I'm just racing myself. I was just trying to get out there and be consistent. Ended up getting a P6 finish. Without the 40-second hold, I probably would have finished P5th. Had no business being in those positions. Probably more of a P7, P8 cars on pace. But I kept a clean car. No one else did in those positions. And that'll change a race. So, like I said, big shout out to the Team Goon Squad Endurance Series. Loved running that series. Endurance is really fun to run when you run against the same guys week in and week out. You know who you're racing and you know what you're going to get. That's why I like it. Better than the series on iRacing. So, but that's an update from there. Running a really, really cool, badass paint scheme. We posted, well, it got tagged with the, in the Instagram for the Discord, or not Instagram for the podcast, not Discord. And I'll post some photos in the Discord too of the really cool paint scheme. Levi made it. I really love it and enjoy running it. But I also guess it's time to talk about where League Zero's going this week and who's all running in that.
Well, I'm glad you asked, sir. Hopefully Russell Slowtoe is going to be there. He's probably going to win because, Finley decided to just disembark from his journey to another back-to-back championship. So, anyways, no, we're going to Hungary. We're going to Hungaroring. That's cool. So, we're following F1 for the next couple weeks, which would be sweet. So, we're going to run Hungaroring, Spa, and then might as well wrap up the schedule. There's only 4 rounds left, so it leaves us to Olton Park and then Phillip Island to round out the season. We had a pretty good race last week, or not last week. Last week was an off week, but prior to that, we ran Silverstone. That was a pretty solid race. Who ended up winning? Was it my teammate? Probably. Anyways,
Raymond, yeah.
There. So that's cool. Still leading the team championship, which is awesome. We've been wanted to get that one for a while, so we got about a 48-point lead, which is sweet. But other than that, it's going to be an interesting one. Come check us out Thursday night. We got some new guys who've been pulling up recently. Not sure where they came from. Hopefully from the Lab Zero podcast, but probably not because we suck. So we'll see how it goes.
Is Levi showing up this week?
Probably not.
That will be not this week, no, sir.
Levi's been saying it all season. Let's be real. He's not coming. So,
and I really want to make the Grand Prix, the full race, and I missed it. I really feel bad about that, but I had
We're going to have another one of those before the season ends? Or
no, that's our 2 for the season, so we're just back to...
I'm not a steward anymore, but I may have to throw that in the suggestions, maybe doing another one of those. Those are pretty fun. I think everybody has a good time with them, but anyways.
It's good if you're doing good. It sucks if you're doing bad.
The stewards that used to be there were a lot cooler. The ones I got in there now, I mean, they're just kind of, whatever.
You all saw the cool ones.
Yeah, the cool ones also didn't do shit. So anyway,
it was me.
That's true. That's true. I think most of us, all of us, were the original stewards.
Oh yeah,
the original stewards. The original steward crew.
I guess he's still standing. Oh, the league owner. So running the show as usual. Anyways.
Yeah, for those watching, I've been around these guys for a while. Like, I've seen the birthplace of almost League Zero. I remember when you guys were just running Formula Renault and hosted sessions trying to get people to join.
Formula Renault 2.0. What a time to be alive.
I remember that.
Right? There's 0 races of those, but we did like 2 recruitments. And there was just this one random dude named Russell Soto running laps.
Yeah, man.
And I was like, hey, homie, you want to run some laps? Or you want to come join our league? And that's how the friendship began. And then we ran F3 and he showed up later. So
and here we are, yeah.
Here we are, like 3 years later in a podcast that apparently he is a guest on that, maybe 26 people probably watch if we're lucky. So, anyways, thank you for coming out.
30 something an episode.
Hey, 26 will get 1 each episode,
Yeah, it's a great podcast. Thank you for coming to our halfway point. If you've made it this far, we love you.
We're going to do a couple of shout outs here at the end to kind of wrap things up for sure. Team Goon Squad, you can go to teamgoonsquad.com for their website. You can find them on YouTube. Those are our boys, James East. He's always helped us. We help him. Try to keep it real with the people that's been there, and stuff. Russell, where can people find you out there in the wide world?
Yeah, absolutely. Instagram is the main social media page I've been using right now. So at Russell T Soto. I post a lot. I try to post at least maybe once every 2 weeks, once every week. Been a lot more consistent with that. And of course, my website, russellsotoracing.com. You can find a lot of my racing history, background, as well as current updates from that
Some
website.
pretty cute photos on there too.
Check them out. We're looking dude over here.
Lovely gentleman, Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I would say those are the 2 main ones for now, but be on the lookout. There's going to be a YouTube channel coming up, some Twitch stuff coming up. And of course,
curious.
Yeah.
Does your contact page go directly to you?
Contact page? Yeah, it does.
Does it go to you or your dad?
No, it goes directly to me.
I'm going to keep that in mind. All right, cool.
Okay.
I don't want to know what that's about.
I'm not sure what it is about either, but I guess I'll find out soon.
You'll slide them DMs.
Feel free to contact me, I guess. Yeah. And of course, you can find me on League Zero. I love racing with these guys. So you'll probably catch me on a couple of those races. But yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure this isn't the last time that you'll be on this little ride with us if it keeps continuing. You know what I mean? Good to have you on for sure.
Yeah, and thank you for having me, man. I would love to come back. This is a lot of fun. Love doing this kind of thing. So.
Anyways, if anybody else has got anything, I think that is lap 26 in the books. I like to call it was it the torpedo? Was that what they Vettel? had a nickname for him, Kvyat.
Kvyat, yeah.
Yeah, the torpedo episode, number 26.
Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, and sorry, Dave, since you didn't give us any picks, you had 0 points.
No, he did give us those picks. We should probably mention them real briefly.
And now he comes along.
I got him.
Or did he give me?
Okay.
No, he didn't. No, never mind. He didn't. Just kidding.
I was about to say, I haven't seen any.
He's like, is it time? Let me know what I can't pick. So I sent him what he can't pick, and that was like 10 minutes ago. He still doesn't remember.
Yeah.
So you know what?
He's like hanging with his family and stuff. Like, what a loser.
Just randomly cut your picks in somewhere, Dave. Just do it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
You probably heard it. This is probably irrelevant by now. It's probably getting cut out. So you know what? Have a fucking fantastic rest of your day, night, morning, evening, whenever
you listen to
it is.
And wherever NASCAR's goes this week, since you never mentioned that.
Pocono! Please listen to us next week.
I like that track.
Oh, Pocono. That's cool.
Yeah, they're not
Anyways, we love you. Time to leave. Big 2.5 hours. Norman didn't shut the fuck up. By the way, Norman sucks. See you guys later. Sports draft. Okay, bye. Bye.
All right.
Go Stellantis.